고상나무 군락을 만납니다. 우리나라 고유 식물인 이 나무의 이름, 고상은 성게를 뜻하는 제주도 방언 쿠살에서 유래했습니다. 이 나무의 개량종은 해외에서 크리스마스 트리로 널리 쓰이지만 정작 제주에선 급격한 기후변화로 인해 고상나무가 점점 사라지고 있습니다. 제주는 대한민국에서 기후변화에 가장 큰 영향을 받는 땅입니다. 한라산에선 고산식물이 점차 사라지고 따뜻한 곳에서 더 잘 자라는 소나무가 늘고 있습니다. 용머리 해안은 해수면이 높아져 출입을 통제하는 날짜가 갈수록 늘고 있는 탓에 대한민국 기후변화 1번지라 불리기에 이르렀습니다. 대한민국에서 제주가 기후변화에 가장 발빠른 움직임을 보일 수 있었던 이유는 자연이 주는 이 묵직한 경고음을 가장 가까이에서 보고 들었기 때문일지 모릅니다. 세계 유일의 유네스코 자연과학 분야 3관왕 제주는 대한민국을 넘어 전 세계가 지켜가야 할 천혜의 섬입니다. 2007년 세계 자연유산으로 등재된 제주는 2010년 국내 최초로 유네스코 세계 지질공원에 지정됐습니다. 2002년 처음 선정된 생물권 보전지역은 2019년 보전 범위가 섬 전체로 확대됐습니다. 대한민국을 대표하는 글로벌 환경 브랜드 제주는 탄소 중립선 프로젝트 CFI 2030을 지난 2012년부터 꾸준히 업그레이드해 한국판 그린 뉴딜을 선도하고 있습니다. 콥28의 제주 유치는 기후변화 협약을 선도하고 있는 대한민국의 모범 사례를 전 세계에 각인시키는 가장 확실한 방법이 될 것입니다. 콥28은 세계 최대 규모의 국제환경회의입니다. 글로벌 스탠다드를 충족하는 인프라가 완벽히 구축돼 있어야 하는 이유입니다. 세계자연보전총회 등 다수의 정상급 대형 국제회의를 개최한 제주국제컨벤션센터는 2023년 개관 예정인 제2센터를 포함 2만여 명이 참여하는 콥28 행사에 최적화된 공간이 될 것입니다. 더 나아가 제주국제컨벤션센터에서 차량 5분 이내에 2,000여 개의 객실은 물론 다양한 형태의 중저가 및 고급 숙박시설도 차량 20분 이내 지역에 위치해 있습니다. 콥28이 요구하는 인프라를 모두 충족하는 대한민국 단 하나의 지역이 바로 제주인 것입니다. 대한민국 기후변화의 최전선, 콥28 개최의 최적지. 이곳의 이름은 제주입니다. 한라산 병풍바위를 지나 윗세오름을 향하다 보면 짙푸른 바늘잎의 고상나무 군락을 만납니다. 우리나라 고유 식물인 이 나무의 이름, 고상은 성게를 뜻하는 제주도 방언 쿠살에서 유래했습니다. 이 나무의 개량종은 해외에서 크리스마스 트리로 널리 쓰이지만 정작 제주에선 급격한 기후변화로 인해 고상나무가 점점 사라지고 있습니다. 제주는 대한민국에서 기후변화에 가장 큰 영향을 받는 땅입니다. 한라산에선 고산식물이 점차 사라지고 따뜻한 곳에서 더 잘 자라는 소나무가 늘고 있습니다. 용머리 해안은 해수면이 높아져 출입을 통제하는 날짜가 갈수록 늘고 있는 탓에 대한민국 기후변화 1번지라 불리기에 이르렀습니다. 대한민국에서 제주가 기후변화에 가장 발빠른 움직임을 보일 수 있었던 이유는 자연이 주는 이 묵직한 경고음을 가장 가까이에서 보고 들었기 때문일지 모릅니다. 세계 유일의 유네스코 자연과학 분야 3관왕 제주는 대한민국을 넘어 전 세계가 지켜가야 할 천혜의 섬입니다. 2007년 세계 자연유산으로 등재된 제주는 2010년 국내 최초로 유네스코 세계 지질공원에 지정됐습니다. 2002년 처음 선정된 생물권 보전 지역은 2019년 보전 범위가 섬 전체로 확대됐습니다. 대한민국을 대표하는 글로벌 환경 브랜드 제주는 탄소 중립성 프로젝트 CFI 2030을 지난 2012년부터 꾸준히 업그레이드해 한국판 그린 뉴딜을 선도하고 있습니다. COP28의 제주 유치는 기후변화 협약을 선도하고 있는 대한민국의 모범 사례를 전 세계에 각인시키는 가장 확실한 방법이 될 것입니다. COP28은 세계 최대 규모의 국제환경회의입니다. 글로벌 스탠다드를 충족하는 인프라가 완벽히 구축돼 있어야 하는 이유입니다. 세계 자연보전총회 등 다수의 정상급 대형 국제회의를 개최한 제주국제컨벤션센터는 2023년 개관 예정인 제2센터를 포함 2만여 명이 참여하는 COP28 행사에 최적화된 공간이 될 것입니다. 더 나아가 제주국제컨벤션센터에서 차량 5분 이내에 2,000여 개의 객실은 물론 다양한 형태의 중저가 및 고급 숙박시설도 차량 20분 이내 지역에 위치해 있습니다. COP28이 요구하는 인프라를 모두 충족하는 대한민국 단 하나의 지역이 바로 제주인 것입니다. 대한민국 기후변화의 최전선, COP28 개최의 최적지. 이곳의 이름은 제주입니다.
Okay, let's start. Okay, hello everybody. This is the second day of fifth global EV roundtable. Are you there?
Yes, Dr. Park.
Okay. Once again, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for participating with us at the fifth global EV roundtable. Hi, my name is J.W. Park, and again, great pleasure to introduce the second day's global EV roundtable. Let me briefly introduce the way we organized this session. Due to the time limitation and tight schedule, the committee officially decided to invite a few distinguished speakers this time. So today, the main topic of today's forum is related to strategics for energy technologies. The first session is organized by Ali Azadi. He is a head of intelligent mobility in Bloomberg NEF. And the second session is organized by President Sung Yong Bang in Greenwich. Thank you. Everybody enjoy the show. Now, Ali, that's all yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Park, for the kind introduction. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure to moderate the panel discussion, session 3 of GAIN, focusing on the synergies between electric vehicles and energy infrastructure. As Dr. Park mentioned, we've got a jam-packed schedule today, so I will keep my remarks very brief. I would like to just express my gratitude to Dr. Park, as well as Chairman Kim Dae-won, and all the speakers and participants for joining us today. Without ado, I will start by introducing our first speaker, Mr. Taekyung Kim, President of KEPRI, as well as affiliated with Korea Electric Power Company. So, Mr. Kim, I would like to invite you to present the first presentation for this session. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon. My name is Kim Tae-gyun, the Vice President of the Electricity R&D Center of KEPCO. My topic is R&D solutions and activities in the electric power sector to achieve a carbon neutrality. Carbon neutrality is something that we have to develop technology for, and it's everyone's goal. Therefore, the role of R&D is furthermore important to evolve and develop carbon neutrality related technology. And at the end of the session, we will see a new project that I am working on right now. In Paris in 2015, we had a Paris Agreement, and the main headline of the Paris Agreement is to have a commitment for lowering the temperature of the globe within 1.5 degrees Celsius and within 2 degrees Celsius in average. IAEA last year mentioned that by 2040, 67% of the entire electric demands will come from the renewable energy. Last year, in Korea, President Moon Jae-in declared carbon neutrality of the nation by 2050. Greenhouse emission gas affected renewable energy and the electricity generation about 30 to 35%. Therefore, it is inevitable for Korea to move forward towards energy efficiency and carbon neutrality. And according to the Electric Energy Supply Master Plan of the ninth round, they set up the goal by 2034 to have the capacity of a renewable energy of 77.8 gigabytes. And according to the Energy Master Plan, the third round in 2019, they introduced the plan to expand the energy portion from renewable energy by 2040. The bottom part of the graph you're seeing right now is for Jeju Island. There's a massive plan for the renewable energy in Jeju, and last year, Jeju already achieved 15% of its goal. Jeju is pursuing carbon-free island strategies. According to that, by 2030, 77% of the energy will come from renewable energy. It is a massive amount, and the pace is very fast in terms of the technology development and implementation of projects. IAEA conducted a research of the renewable energy portion, and we modified the information at KEPCO. Depending on the volume of the power generation, first of all, we have to think of a grid code. In other words, we have to establish the standards to link our energy system to the renewable energy sources and renewable energy power plants. There's something called LVIT. In case of a low voltage, renewable energy still should provide a stable energy supply. And we are thinking to expand this renewable energy sources to wind and solar power. So we are amending various grid code items, and what we have to focus on more is, at the end of the day, compared to traditional energy sources, renewable energy will replace many parts of the energy demands and energy generation. Then, renewable energy should bear the same responsibility as the traditional energy sources used to bear. And we also have to ease the burden of the power generation from the traditional energy sources. And KEPCO is securing more capacity to provide electricity. Sometimes there are some limits to provide a stable power supply, and we are working on that at KEPCO. There will be 1.4 gigawatt of ESS by next year. That's what our plan is. So in the middle, it says phase 3. This is like where Jeju is right now. Some obstacles lie ahead of us, including the monitoring and forecast and controlling system for renewable energy. It's very important to accurately calculate the output of the electricity volume. When we operate some electricity systems, we used to do by manual work. In mathematics, they call it determinantics. And to plan energy-related issues for future, it's all about probability and chances. And in terms of probability and technology, we may encounter some obstacles. And if we have more than 25% of the renewable energy, we move on to phase 4. And we may experience a net zero. That means that some parts of the energy generation will be done by renewable energy sources 100%. And this is also the situation that affects greatly to the stability of the electricity systems. Right now, we have inverter-based solar power energy equipment. And we plan to build more equipment like that. And I briefly mentioned before, and this is the stage that renewable energy should bear the same responsibility as the traditional energy sources. And to that end, we need to revise the current laws and regulations. And we have to prepare ourselves for the fluctuation of the power supply. And these are some issues that we have to tackle in phase 4. In our systems, those were the tasks. And today I want to focus on our project in Jeju Island. And I want to briefly introduce the power grid of Jeju Island. There are two elements. First, flexibility is still yet sufficient in power grid in Jeju. In case of severe incident, maximum frequency may take some time to get reached because we have some must-run generators, and HVDC has some limit for output of the power. And as you can see on the left graph, you may see this. The yellow part is solar energy. If you want to avoid curtail, we have to reduce the must-run operation time in the right side of the graph. This shows the rigid current system of the Jeju power grid. And there have been 77 curtail last year. And in 2020, the left part is the inland frequency changes. Due to the issues of systems in Jeju, This year, in the first half of this year, we are running a 1 HVDC channel, and by the end of this year, we want to expand that to 4 channels. And next year, we hope to complete the HVDC channels with the 200 megawatts between Jeju and Wando Island. These are hardware perspectives.
슬라이드를 뒤로 하려면 그래서 빨간색이요. 그래서 이제
So those were some hardware issues, but then in terms of R&D, we have some solution plans from KEPCO. Before we go into
뭐로?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get in touch with them because yes, there's no audio coming through.
예. 예. 그래서 탄소 중립에 대한 우리 연구원의 진행 현황을 간단히
and next our progress for R&D for carbon neutrality. I would like to mention 3 items. First, no carbon power. Second, increasing efficiency in energy in terms of demands. Third, carbon capture and utilization, which is called CCUS. Energy efficiency, CCUS are the things that we want to move forward, but today I want to focus on no carbon power only. In order to realize the no carbon power generation, I think we need to do 3 things. First, how to supply this energy. By 2023, we should be able to provide 77 megawatts, and it's amazing volume. Large-scale power plants and large-scale consumptions and large-scale long-term power provision are the characteristics of a Korean power generation. Decentralization is the key for our power generation plan in the future, and that means a localization should be done by embracing and considering the characteristic of each local area. For example, if you are in offshore areas, you can utilize the seawater farm to collect some solar power. And Terabos is another task that we are highly interested in. And hopefully, in 20 years' time, 10 years' time, 20 years' time, all the windows should equip the Terabos that we are developing right now. Hopefully, all the windows will turn into our development results. As you're well aware, solar power, wind power, our LCO is twice as big as that of Europe. So that's why we need R&D in the area too. Either we develop a new installation technology or try to scale up our turbines, existing turbines. And the second issue is to enhance the capacity of the power grid acceptance volume. Our situation is quite different from countries like Denmark. To embrace renewable energy sources, we need a lot of infrastructure still need to be developed. And I think we need 2 things. First, storage mix. And the existing equipment sometimes become malfunctioning, and there are some processes to fix that. And now renewable energy is replacing the existing power plant, and that should function the same as the traditional power plant. And we are also working on developing some battery with a high speed. And next, scaling up of ESS battery. It depends on situation, but I think we need at least a 10 gigawatt. With the electric battery by using lithium, I'm not sure if that's the only solution we can enhance the capacity and capability of the battery. Now our direction is the Carno battery. Renewable energy often gives an impression of the fluctuation and instability, and I want to talk about this part. As mentioned before, we have to advance our system to monitor and control renewable energy sources. And we have to spend more money not only installing more equipment and facilities, but also coming up with the non-wired alternatives, or NWA. And we also should be able to control the systems, or FFR, meaning fast frequency response. So NWA and FFR will be more explained in the next slide. Jeju is pursuing the policy called the carbon-free island. CFI means carbon-free island, and we just took that name for our project as well. So our project is called the CFI R&D Demonstration Project. So if we can control slight volume of renewable energy, it might be easier. Last year, Jeju amended relevant laws and regulations. And second, NWA needs to be applied. VPP, DR, ESS, and DC controlling are all the technologies that are used to reduce investment, and that's something that we want to try in Jeju. See, I from CFI is inertia. Inertia will be very important. When, in the case of the accident, the more you have inertia, we will have less time to be charged to charge our inverter. So fast frequency responsibility needs to be applied in Jeju Island. These are all theoretically proven ideas, and we already tested in our simulations. However, nobody knows whether we can secure synchronous inertia by using flywheel to see whether we have the ideal frequency that we have. And these are the things that we are planning to do, and the budget is about 53 billion won, and we will start this in November this year. So the first goal is to remove the cut tail, which happened 77 times last year. And by 2027, maybe we should realize the similar stability as the inland situation. The clock is ticking, so we have to right away move on to the pilot projects. KEPCO created and will create more ecosystem where universities, companies will gather together. And we are happy to share our R&D results with these partners. So anyone who is listening to my presentation with a great technology, please contact me, and we can actively consider to purchase your technology. Next one, large-scale pilot projects. We do a lot of R&D in Korea, but implementation-wise, the volume is very small. It's because most of the tests are done in the laboratories. It is extremely difficult to apply what we studied in the real-life situation, but that's something that the KEPCO, as the public corporation, should do. For carbon neutrality, we will help the government to realize the goal, and we will also secure the technologies so that our corporate partners can create the business partners. And that wraps up my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kim, for the insightful presentation. We will have a chance to do Q&A during the panel discussion later on. In the interest of time, I would like to invite our next speaker, Mr. Keja Hong from Danfoss, to share his presentation. Mr. Hong, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. So, yeah. Hello, Ellie, but it seems I can't share my screen. So maybe could you please allow me to, yep. Hello, Ellie. Yeah, bigger. Okay, thanks. Okay, so I hope everyone can see my screen now. Okay, let's start. Hello. So it's my thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for invite Danfoss to join this the 5th Global EV Roundtables. So today we are on behalf of Danfoss to give a short introduction, and let's listen to the electrifications. Yeah, let's start. Okay. So there are 4 short agendas today. So the first one is short introduction to Danfoss Group, and the most important is about the global trend and analysis about the EV market. The last will be the Danfoss products and reference we can share to you what we done all over the world. Okay. So Danfoss Group we have 3 segments layer. So we have power solutions, climate solutions, and also Danfoss drives working on from marine on highway and off-highway commercial buildings and also food supplies. So today we are talking about the power solutions we can offer to the customers. Okay, so of course there are several segments there, but today our topic is about Danfoss Editron. We provide our electrode traction systems and also the fuel cell compressor systems. This is most attractive point and also match to Korean market because we all know Korean government they put a lot of effort on fuel cells technologies and also in the market. Okay, so actually we are 50 years on the electrical propulsion leaderships. So we found in 1967, and 3 years later, the first electrical car was developed and equipped with our own PM motors. And last 2 years ago, 2019, we acquired by Danfoss. And so we built on the business unit to supporting and keep serving our customers. Okay, so these slides are about the global mega trends. So there are several mega trends are transforming our world, and Danfoss is taking part all of those segments. And so now let's talking about the electrification. This is more caring about our climate solution change. So there are several global trends driving the electrifications, especially about the climate change. So according to the Paris um, climate agreement, demand for low carbon emissions. This is also meets the, so that's why all of the industrial are targeting to list regulations. And next one is a regulation to cut the particulate pollutions, especially in harbor. We all know Jeju is for a tourist hotspot. So several marine harbors, they are already forbidden. Um, the vessels, you are not allowed to using the diesel engine or even the low sulfur fuels when you're nearby the harbor. So this is one of the target that pushing all the shipyard or even ship makers. They're targeting for hybrid solutions or even a pure electric system, especially in Europe. And diesel engine was banned in a lot of big cities, especially in Nordic countries. For example, in Norway, even the construction site, you can't use any diesel engines. So it pushed all the big excavator suppliers, no matter this is Caterpillar, Komatsu, and even Hyundai and Doosan, they go for hybrid or pure electric solutions. And there's a foreign cost of electrification. This is mainly talking about the battery cost. So battery cost improvement and technology improvement, this is the driving forward, a strength forward target. So all of the suppliers are working on this one, and we believe the foreign cost will be lower in the nearby futures. So okay, so what is electrifications is our solutions to stop the climate change. So those one are our next slides. Let's talking about some studies, what we made and what's the analysis supporting this one. So this study from the screen, you can see this article. This study was done by the Energy Watch Group and the LUT, the Finnish University. They use the scientific modeling study to simulate a total global energy transition in the electricity, heat, power, and also destinations, also transportation by 2050. The most important is the transition to 100% renewable energy require a comprehensive electrification in all energy sectors. So the total energy electricity generation would be 4 or 5 times higher than the electricity generation in 2015. Yeah. Okay. Then you can see today the fossil fuel, it takes about 97% energy transportation. But now we can expect till 2050, the fuel cell consumptions will be from 90% reduced to 0%. So this is also meet the Paris climate solutions. On the other hand, the electricity direct and hydrogen and also the methane contribute over 60% electricity for all the final demand on the transportation sector. So this is the most important from the sectors. And this is also an indication why lots of investors and also the suppliers are they are going for the electrification market. Yeah. So this is the on-highway market we can foresee in the from the 2020 to 5 years later to 2024. So the bus, including a coach, a school bus, and transit bus, the electrification ratio will be increased from 25% to up to 45%. This is due to some regulations improvement and also some government subsidiary. But in the truck, they are we can expect the 5% to 20% increase in a low duty or medium duty. But in heavy duty, you can the electrification ratio is still very low. This is mainly because the battery technology, the battery still occupies some rooms and it's quite also costly and heavy. So it can also occupy some room if we go for using in a heavy duty. So we can't carry on a lot of goods if we go for electrification. So this if we want to go for more electrification on the heavy duty trucks, this one might be rely on some battery efficient improvement, or also the cost and the size. The passenger vans, no matter this is what the duty cycle, what the duty car is, we can expect it has the same ratio, electrification ratio from 25% to 45% in the 5 years later. And this one target will be reached and grows higher and higher, because we already heard lots of European customers and also countries, they already started selling the gasoline vehicles. So this one would be also one of the motivations to push customers or even the car makers go for electrifications. Okay, so today I just give a very some quick slide about what Denvos can provide. So we can offer the electric motors to replace the diesel engines and provide a powerful tractions. So we can offer from 50 kilowatt to up to 1 megawatt. Especially for some special motors, we can up to 10 megawatt for marine or even the hydropowers. About the inverters, this is also an important unit to control electric motors and monitor the behavior of the motor and provide necessary protections. So inverter power range from 100 kilowatt to 1000 kilowatt, possible for parallel hybrid use. Parallel use, sorry. And integration solutions, this is with the transmission integrate. So this can use increase reliabilities and also let customers, you doesn't need go for direct drive, because normally direct drive you need a big machines to reach the same reliability, but normally the big machine is quite heavy and also costly. So this is integrated solution normally come from can solve the space issues. And efficiency. So we are the highest efficiency on the market. This is also proven by lots of customers. So our efficiency is not only a specific point, operation point, because when you drive in the car, normally your load or your speed is always changing. It's always changing. That means wider operation range with high efficiency is very critical for energy saving. But high efficiency normally means to customer, that means you can have less battery installed, or you can have less fuel consumptions in a hybrid vehicle, or even for customers. So, and now, next one is the world's best electric buses we already covered.
Hello,
So why
Mr.
we call
Hong.
it, this is the most successful electric bus, because yeah, we deliver this electric bus since
Okay.
2012, and now it already, the mileage already exceeding 16 million kilometers. So the superior climbing performance and the lowest operation cost, and one-time charging, it can up to 525 kilometers. And zero emission, and also the highest NGP, normally they means mileage per gallon of gasoline equivalent. So we use this one to prove to customers. This one, if you want to get the long operation range, of course, high efficiency and also the low cost system is the must. Electric buses, we deliver, this is a nearby country in Taiwan. So yeah, we deliver around 70 electric buses, until the end of this year, this number will increase to 100. So this is serving the Taipei 101 buildings. So if customers also visit Taiwan, we are welcome to take this one take a ride. And Jeju Polar Hybrid truck. This is one of the parallel hybrid systems. So this is one of the most powerful truck. We deliver 850 kilowatt. That means 1,150 horsepower and more than 5,000 Newton meter of torque, combined with the Mercedes-Benz diesel engine with our electric motors. So this one is using for logistics on the truck, on the wooden materials. And this one is an interesting reference because as we said, some big cities, they already banned the diesel engines. So especially this one, Norway, they are the very factory, and the goal for electrification is a pioneer. So that's why this city or this country, they ban the diesel engine even in construction site. So they push lots of customers or even construction makers, they turn for, no matter this is new build or retrofit projects, they have to go for electrifications. So we support provide assistance to home equipment. This is a Caterpillar subsidiaries. Okay, so hydrogen fuel cells. So we provide a fuel cell compressor systems to this one. So we have the loose-based compressor technologies, and also we offer an 18 kilowatt brushless DC motor to drive the compressors. So this one is also one we provide to SLC. Yeah, Vincent. This one is a company, our Korean customers in Korea. So the most interesting is the President Moon. They also on board this leisure boat. So they gave a very high admirations on this one. So we provide our propulsion system to this one. So this is a space and wave saving due to the compact designs. So if you have interest, you can go to you can contact Denver's or go to Vincent to take a look. Yeah, the last page here is a retrofit project about ferries operating in Taiwan. So why we take this article or reference to introduce as a last page, because this is a retrofit project, and we all know Jeju is island is a very charming tourist spot. So we all know the Korean government, they have a lot of policies or regulations. They want to build a green islands. So retrofit is also one way of the one of the simplest and also the fast solutions to go for this one. Because Happiness Ferry, this one actually this is a service life extension programs. So actually this boat is almost going for a stop operations, or so it has to spend lots of money to keep it running, to keep existing diesel system configurations. But we convince the shipyard and go for hybrid systems. So actually the payback year or ROI return of this year comparing because the go from the original diesel engine go for hybrid systems, we can save almost half daily fuel consumption. So the ROI is only, after the calculations, is only 4.1 year. So this is one of the target that maybe they can attract some ship makers and some governments that go for electrifications. Okay. So this is my last page, and hope you enjoy it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keja Hong, for the insightful presentation on Danfoss. So again, we will come back to you during the panel discussion to ask you specific questions.
Sure.
Thanks again for the insightful presentation. In the interest of time, I would like to invite Mr. Louis Zhilang from BYD to share his presentation. Mr. Louis, the floor is yours.
Okay. 好了，大家下午好，我很高兴能够在现场与各位嘉宾和朋友进行一次分享和交流。
안녕하세요. 오늘
Good afternoon, everyone. I am honored to have my presentation to everyone.
会的话呢，我们也非常感谢济州岛以及这个电动车协会特别是金大焕先生一直以来对电动汽车比亚迪的关注和支持。
이 기회를 통해
Through this opportunity, I would like to expand my gratitude for President Kim Dae-hwan for his dedication and the International Electric Vehicle Expo Committee. Thank you.
理解和看法。
오늘 이
Today, I would like to share some information about BYD so you can have a better understanding about my company.
詹姆斯也针对电动车一些技术和走向做了一些分享。那么我们作为一个拥有核心零部件的电动车厂家，在这里呢给大家做一些介绍。
We just heard about some technological direction from Danfoss, and today I would also like to talk about what we do as an EV maker.
08年开始制作这个电动车，那么在2008年当时的话呢，其实可以说所有的国家市场乃至于消费者对电动车是持有极为怀疑态度的时期。
BYD는
BYD established in 2008 for the e-vehicle manufacturing, and at that time, a lot of people were skeptical about electric vehicle back in 2008.
当时比亚迪因为做电动车，我们在股市上我们的股价一下子掉了40%。
Because we started manufacturing electric vehicle, we had the increase in sales about 40%.
中国现在已经成为电动车市场最大市场之一。那么呢，我想呢，针对中国对电动车的发展，也可以给大家分享一些相关的数据。
오늘 같은 경우
China has one of the biggest electric vehicle market nowadays. And as a leading company, I would like to share important data of a Chinese e-vehicle industry.
已经超过了70%，也就是说，每年中国有70%的石油是从国外进口而来。
In terms of energy, there's about 70% of the petrochemical import and crude oil import into China.
수입하는 이 70%의 상류 중에 또 70%가 차지고 돼 있는 부분이 저희 교통 수단에 지금 사용을 하고.
And these 70% of the crude oil is used for public transportation. And that's also used for the public transportation in China, running vehicles. Government truly believes that transition to the renewable energy is a must. Worldwide, we have more electric vehicles running on the road, but people are still worried a lot, for example, the safety of the battery and customer service after they purchase the e-vehicles.
各个国家的政府一道致力于新能源汽车的发展过程中，我们也欣喜地看到了电动车走到今天已经取得了很大的突破和成就。
과거에 지금 여러
Through years of effort, we've established some partnership, and we've had a lot of achievement witnessing.
我们在北京做过一次问卷调查，问消费者买电动车最大的忧虑是什么？
5년 전에
5 years ago, we had our survey in Beijing. Once people purchased the EV, what was the most and the biggest concern that they had. That was one of the questions.
是续航里程的问题。
그다음
Biggest challenge was that the driving distance.
比亚迪已经从08年300公里做到了600，而且我们的同行也将续航里程提升到了500、600，因此续航里程在今天的中国消费者当中，已经不是它所面临的最大的挑战。
In 2008, our direction of the expanding driving distance was from 300 kilometers to 500 kilometers. So BYD, I will say, is leading the industry. So driving distance is not really a matter of our company. And I'm sure a lot of audiences here today are concerned about the safety of the EV itself.
安全是比亚迪一直
自以来发展的一个核心的关键。
BYD는 제조업계로서 자동차를 생산하는 자로서 안전이라는 그런 부분은 BYD가 창립하면
Safety is the agenda and mission since the establishment of a BYD, because BYD is truly, genuinely, and indeed a automaker.
都一直在坚持使用磷酸铁锂电池。
I'm sure there are some battery experts in the audience, and since 2008 we have been using the EV battery and conducted relevant technological development. And we launched our Blade battery in March 2020.
更重要的是解决了
安全问题。
이난철 배터리로 구성되어 있는 블레드 배터리 같은 경우
Blade battery solves the energy density problem as well as the safety issues.
可以把电动车的自燃从新能源的字典中删除。
저 블레드 배터리 같은 경우 전기차의 자체 연소하는 그런 문제를
Blade battery also solves the issues of the ignition inside the internal components of the vehicle. Today I want to share the video, and then the video shows the Blade battery and the comparison with the NCM battery.
真实试验是对电池所有的测试当中是最为严厉、最为苛刻的试验。
This test in the video is the most strict and the most difficult test. So through this opportunity, hopefully, you can enjoy the video and understand what I just mentioned. Please play the video.
对。那么呢，安全的话呢，我们认为是比亚迪电动车中最奢侈的豪华。
안전 부분은 BYD의 정
应该搭载更多的磷酸铁锂电池，这是我们对技术方向发展的一个。
우선은 중국 같은
The technological direction in China and is that they want to mount more like battery on e-vehicles.
把电相信智能化将是电动车发展的下半场。
전기
As you're well aware, e-vehicle is rapidly developed. And that's the round one. And round two will be all about intelligence.
传统车它是发动机动力，它是一个机械，就像算盘，用机械的方法来算数。
As you're well aware, traditional combustion internal engine functions as more in mechanical manners, like just regular machine.
전기차는 다루는 부분은
The difference between the traditional combustion engine car and the e-vehicle is that electric vehicle is using electricity as a fuel.
毫秒，电动车它是提升到20毫秒。
전통적
Traditional internal combustion engine cars
수치를 20ml로 상승을 해왔습니다.
打破互联网的，
수가 없는 그런 비율을 하고 있습니다.
但是，一旦电动化之后，那就整个的控制策略它就会完全发生转变。电机可以用4个轮子做电机。
다만 전기화를 시행을 하면 이런 제어하는 그런 TC가 완전 전환되는 그런 상황인데요. 그리고 전기화 같은 경우에는 4개의 바퀴를 인పు트하고 목표로 구동하고 있습니다.
Once we do electrification, we are able to operate all 4 wheels for commercial vehicles, passenger cars, fully. Sometimes you expect, according to some statistics, sometimes you expect accident and you are expected to respond to accident within 0.6 seconds. But with the EV, it's about 600 milli per second.
状态进行调整，让这个车不至于失控，不至于翻滚，这是可以做到的。
그래서 저희가 전
So through controlling electrification within 600 milli per second, we should maximize the condition of the vehicle, so making sure that the EV still runs and then it doesn't fall over.
我们认为，电动车的上半场转到下半场的时候，一定会更精彩。
그래서 저희
So we believe we expect more achievement towards the second half of our journey of the technology development.
在开始由上半场转入到电动车产业发展下半场。
As you're well aware, China, Europe, and US are competing for the electrification, and we are now in round 2. And we are fully capable of leading the electric vehicle industry in China. For example, battery motor and the semiconductor mounted on the vehicles will be shared in cooperation between BYD and other overseas partners, so that other partners can participate in the innovation of what BYD does. From 10 years ago, we've started to pay attention to electrification of public transportation. And that is in line with the government policy of electrification policy. Currently, a lot of cities in Korea, they use e-bus made by BYD, which involves the development of their public transportation system.
投入各行各业所需要的电动车。
BYD는 앞으로 저희가 가지고 있는 그런 혁신적인 기술을
We will continue to share our innovative technology with other overseas partners of BYD.
清楚了，它是一种必然趋势。那么在这种必然趋势的大环境下，BYD我们依旧会结合全球的合作伙伴，在所有的国家、地区和市场，我们会把比亚迪的技術、產品、服務與所有的志同道合的朋友們去共同的發展壯大。
전기차 환경 아래에서 저희 BYD도 전 세계의 파트너가 함께 저희 기술이랑 그리고 제품
Because EV is a trend, and that's the way that everyone should go, and we hope to distribute all our technology and services around the globe.
稳定之后我们在这里诚挚的邀请所有的朋友们有时间到中国来看一看，到深圳来看一看，到比亚迪来看一看。
그리고 지금 계시는 여러분한테
And I want to invite you to our site, and hopefully after COVID gets eased, please visit China and contact to us in Shenzhen. And I really hope that you can have an opportunity to see what we do in BYD. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liu, for the insightful presentation. Really interesting to see the progress that BYD has made on battery technology. And we'll definitely come back with some questions to you during the panel discussion. I would like to now invite our last speaker for this session, Mr. Steiner Madsen from Topeka. Mr. Madsen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me use a second to share the screen, please. Can you confirm seeing the presentation? Thank you. Okay, thank you for this invitation to present Topeka and HiShip at the 5th Global EV Roundtable. Transportation on land, sea, and air is among the largest CO2 emitters, and it's therefore essential to share and discuss various solutions to decarbonize transportation. I will use this opportunity to contribute by sharing some information from the maritime sector. My name is Steinar Madsen, and my position is CEO in Topeka, a zero-emission shipping company within the Wilhelmsen Group. First, a few words about Wilhelmsen. Wilhelmsen is a Norwegian-based global maritime group providing essential products and services to the global merchant fleet, along with supplying crew and technical management. The company was established back in 1861, and back in those days, we only used zero-emission vessels, sail ships. From there and all the way until today, the shipping industry has been through several energy transitions, from sail to steam, first fueled by coal, then by oil, and now combustion engines on fossil fuels. In the same period, the world had been connected in a common global market. Today, approximately 90% of all global trade is transported by ships, by a global fleet consisting more than 50,000 vessels. And the global fleet is emitting close to 3% of the global greenhouse gas. And these emissions are projected to increase if mitigation measures are not put in place. So something must be done. But before discussing possible solutions, let's have a look on a ship to better understand the current situation. This illustration is a standard conventional container feeder. It's not a big ship, but I do believe the energy consumption is approximately an average for the 50,000 vessels. And the energy is generated from an oil combustion engine burning heavy fuel oil. The vessel is burning approximately 2,200 liters per hour in transit speed, close to 40 kilometers per hour. And this energy for an hour consists approximately 24 megawatt energy. But poor energy efficiency from combustion result of half of the energy is wasted to heat, and approximately 12 megawatt goes to the propeller. It's a lot of energy, but please take into consideration the ship load equal more than 1,200 semi-trailers. Hence, it is an energy efficient transport mode. Anyway, my point is that with current battery technology, these vessels can hardly be made battery driven. Another point is the large fuel storage capacity on a vessel gives the ship owner huge flexibility in respect of when and where to do the fuel bunkering. This standard vessel has a fuel tank capacity of 2,700 cubic meters, which converted into energy is an energy content of almost 30,000 megawatt. In normal operation, is not a need for such huge capacity, but the ship operators have normally no worries about range capacity. Even if it seems difficult, the shipping industry must participate in the ongoing climate action. International Maritime Organization, IMO, have a strategy to reduce CO2 emission per transport work by at least 40% by 2030 and towards 70% by 2050. To be able to meet these targets, there must be an energy transition from today's heavy fuel oil to other energy carriers. And as mentioned before, the maritime industry have done several energy transition through the history. And we do believe that the maritime sector will be an important arena to innovate and develop carbon-free carriers. Vessels give great opportunities for testing various solutions. It's possible to install backup powertrains, hybrid solutions, and thereby reduce the consequence of technical failure of lack of available hydrogen-based fuel. And as we saw, vessels have large capacity for carrying fuels. And the vessel can also host engineers or other technical personnel, all important in the first innovative phase. We do believe that development of carbon-free solution will start with domestic projects, heavily depending on each country, public support and ambitions. Short distances and fixed schedules are also lowering the barrier for new solutions due to technical risk and the need for fuel infrastructure for new fuel types. And then gradually moving towards short sea, development of global standards and class rules, increased availability of bunker facilities, and finally enabling deep sea with long-range capacity for ocean crossing. And all this must become in place well ahead of 2050 if the maritime industry shall meet the climate action target. We have seen the same development pattern for all past energy transitions, from sail to the first steamboats. They have very limited cargo capacity due to huge need for bunker coal and inefficient steam engines, while limitations to get oil at remote locations was the main hurdle for the first oil combustion vessels. In modern times, we have seen the same development in the transition to LNG-driven vessels. First, domestic to prove the technology, here shown by the Norwegian LNG-fueled road ferry Glutra, set in service in 2000. Very, very short distance, regular and fixed service calling at the same port, enabling setting up a LNG bunkering terminal. Then gradually larger vessels and longer endurance, and finally today, where a large number of deep sea vessels with LNG or LNG hybrids are in the pipeline. But still, after 20 years development, LNG as a fuel is not widely available at all larger ports. From this slide, you can see that the Norwegian Road Authority has been very active towards pushing innovative maritime solutions for road ferries. The first LNG-driven ferry in 2000, then a zero-emission battery ferry Ampere in 2015, and this year a hydrogen-driven ferry. And the hydrogen-driven ferry could be the starting point for the next energy transition, similar to LNG in year 2000. And just to say it, when we are talking about hydrogen, we include all hydrogen variants, if it's compressed, liquid, ammonia, or whatever. We believe various applications will have various needs, and there will be opportunities for all kinds of hydrogen. Energy transition to hydrogen-based fuel will most likely follow the same development pattern as all previous energy transition. But hopefully we have learned some lessons enabling to speed up. It has taken more than 20 years for LNG, and we need to cut transition time to meet climate action. The Norwegian Road Authority are utilizing the purchasing power to challenge the maritime industry for developing new solutions. LNG in year 2000, hydrogen this fall, and in between the first battery electric ferry Ampere. In Norway, the maritime industry is very important, and we do not have any car industry. The government is challenging the maritime industry to develop innovative solutions, both for the domestic market, but also for developing new global market products. From the first battery ferry 7 years ago, and next year more than 80 battery electric ferries in Norwegian waters. This ramp up has resulted in development in new and better batteries and improved system integrations. Gradually, new possibilities for battery solutions in maritime sector have occurred. As described earlier, battery have limitations in shipping, but several hybrid solutions are now entering the market. But to enable zero emission for larger vessels or longer distances, we need carbon-free fuel. We believe that hydrogen is very promising. We are involved in a liquid hydrogen project, Topeka High Ship, and I will end my presentation by giving you an update on that specific project. With the Topeka High Ship project, we are trying to utilize experience from earlier energy transition. The project is covering fuel production, fuel distribution, and end-user vessels, and hopefully avoid the chicken-egg dilemma which have slowed down the LNG rollout. The service is linking supply bases and ports on the west coast of Norway. Currently, most cargo between those ports are transported by road trucks. But the cargo owner is demanding high frequency and regularity. Therefore, we are aiming to build 2 vessels for this service, giving daily departure in both directions. The vessels will be fueled by liquid hydrogen, and it's designed by LMG Marine, an experienced designer for low and zero emission solutions. Efficiency port operations enables the service speed to be limited to 12 knots or even lower to reduce the power demand. And we are planned to have approximately power demand of 2 megawatt. But in total, we are planning to install 3 megawatt PEM fuel cells for the vessel. The LNG tank's capacity on the vessel is close to 100 cubic meters, allowing the vessel to sail for 2 days between bunkering. All hydrogen equipment from the storage tanks to vaporizers to fuel cells are located on open space at upper deck. This is to avoid any hydrogen trapped if any leakage occurs. The zero emission range for Topeka High Ship will be approximately 700 kilometers, which is a step on the road to achieve zero emission solution for deep sea vessels. And just to mention it, there will be a backup diesel generator on board to secure redundancy. The fuel will be delivered by Aurora. It's a partnership between Equinor, Baker K, and Air Liquide. And they are planning to build a factory for hydrogen production and liquefaction next door to Mongstad supply base, which is Equinor's main port for serving the oil and gas installation in the North Sea. And at the same time, Equinor, the major oil company in Norway, will be the most important cargo owner for the Topeka High Ship service. The Topeka High Ship vessel shall also be used to distribute hydrogen as a cargo from the production site to hydrogen terminals at the ports. We plan to develop flexible hydrogen hubs, depot for storing hydrogen, and bunkering arrangements for vessels and filling stations for hydrogen trucks and buses. The hydrogen volumes will be transported in the same containment through the supply chain from the factory to the end user, using ISO containers or tank trailers. Topeka High Ship is a demonstration vessel where Wilhelmsen is the coordinator. High Ship is a fuel cell and hydrogen joint undertaking project under the EU Horizon 2020 program. The object is to get better understanding of opportunities and document liquid hydrogen feasibility as a fuel. Here under security issues, social acceptance, etc. In addition to the Topeka and the base-to-base service, the High Ship project is also looking into technical solutions for using liquid hydrogen on other vessel types, from larger bulk vessels to smaller inland waterways. Within the High Ship Consortium, 16 different institutions and companies are cooperating to develop commercial full-scale zero-emission cargo ships and to demonstrate and document that liquid hydrogen is one possible solution to decarbonize the shipping industry. If everything is going well, the final decision to build a hydrogen factory will soon be taken. But today, there are no liquid hydrogen available for fueling in Norway. Our ambition in Topeka is to have ships operated from zero-emission ships operated from 2024 as soon as the new factories start delivering liquid hydrogen. We are looking forward to build and operate zero-emission vessels fueled by liquid hydrogen and thereby demonstrate and document one possible carbon-free alternative for the ongoing energy transition. And again, thank you for this opportunity to share some details from the maritime world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matson, for the insightful presentation. And now we have about 40 minutes to have a panel discussion. And what I will do is I will start the first set of questions. But I do encourage our audience, both those physically in Jeju as well as those that are listening online, to also think about their questions, and we'll make sure that there's ample time to have audience Q&A as well. So over the 4 presentations, we have covered basically the primary vectors of decarbonization, from increasing final applications, electrifications, so particularly the transport sector, where fossil fuels still play a significant role. We've talked about how electricity needs to come from renewables and some of the challenges of going to high levels of renewables. We've also talked about some of the technologies around batteries that are needed, as well as the electric drivetrains, and also the role that hydrogen might potentially play specifically in the marine transport sector. So really, I personally found all the presentation very educational, and I do thank all our speakers for preparing them. With that, if I may, I'll start first by going back to our first speaker, Mr. Kim Tae-kyun from KEPCO. Mr. Kim, in your presentation, you talked about the challenges of increasing of the rates of renewables, particularly what you're already experiencing in Jeju, with the need for increasing curtailment rates. In your presentation, you talked already a little bit about the technologies that you expect will be needed to be able to manage the challenges posed by higher rates of renewables in the power mix. One thing that was on your slide, but I personally was hoping to hear more about, was around sector coupling, particularly the role that electric vehicles may play, around vehicle to grid. Given that Jeju also has this goal of having 100% electric vehicle fleet by 2030, can you please tell us a little bit about how KEPCO is thinking about vehicle to grid, V2G? Mr. Kim?
됐어요? 예, 좋은 질문 감사합니다.
Thank you very much for a wonderful question. Korean government's decarbonization needs to be understood after reviewing various industries. And one of the major tasks of KEPCO is to stabilize the power grid nationwide when we adopt various energy sources, including renewable energy. And we also do some investment for new facilities and equipment. And I briefly mentioned before, some speakers also mentioned the energy demand will double or triple by 2030 or 2040, also due to electrification. But it is not realistic and possible to expand the infrastructure forever. So I mentioned about NWA technology, and by utilizing this technology, we can save the cost for the grid expansion. And because we are under the topic of e-vehicle today, DI and DR is one of the elements of NWA, and e-vehicle can be a tool according to KEPCO. And KEPCO is already doing a lot of roles to distribute more electric vehicles, hydrogen as well, and of course, charging station needs to improve its convenience for the users, and we have some plans to share some information with other organizations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kim. If I may now bring in Mr. Kejo Hong from Danfoss. So in your presentation, you talked about the different power solutions that Danfoss offers for different motorized vehicle applications, from construction equipment to commercial vehicle, buses, and even marine. From the experience of just dealing with your customers around the world, which segment do you see accelerating among those final applications for electric drivetrains, and which one do you feel that still it's a little bit niche and the pace of development is still slower compared to the others?
Yeah, I would say the niche market certainly it should be marine applications because from the baker, Mr. Marston's his presentation, you can see the IMO's regulations because we all know marine segment or industrial is very some kind of conservative because for EV because it's on land, so even the worst case, of course, we are talking about for example BYD, they have very good and long-term safety experience about this one on the vehicles, but if you get in trouble in the overseas, no one can secure you in a short time. So that's why electrification is some kind of very slow progress compared to other countries. But vessel and cargo vessel, this is one of the most important transportation about logistic helping the world. So we will say this one. So of course, but EV, this is one kind of the rapid. I believe China and also BYD that did a very successful all over the world. So that's why we also want to be part of this one and to help our customers to go for electrifications. Yeah. How you answer your questions?
Yeah, no, thank you very much, and your answer actually nicely sets up my follow-up questions to Mr. Liu and Mr. Matson. So maybe I'll start with Mr. Liu. Mr. Liu, thank you very much for the insightful presentations or BYD's battery technology. So BYD, of course, pioneered using lithium iron phosphate batteries, and the nanoblade architecture is quite impressive. Recently, we are seeing some of your competitors, for example, CATL, also talk about sodium-ion batteries. I was wondering if you may have any views around the evolution of battery technology for transport applications. In your view, do you see that lithium-ion in different variations still dominating, or do you see other chemistries coming to play over the next decade? I just wanted to confirm if my question was clear.
对，大家都知道，因为我想，对，今天这个应该对电池的关注应该是最多的零部件之一了啊。那么，比亚迪可以说致力于电池的研发生产多年啊。那么现在随着这个电动车作为使用电池领域发展之一，我们也可以看到了所有的汽车厂家、所有的零部件厂商啊，都在针对不同的电池技术在做出深刻的钻研。
우선은 지금 오늘
In the era of e-vehicle, there are a lot of order volumes of batteries, and so far the technology is quite at high level. Component companies and any battery related companies have a lot of views about the direction of the battery technology so far.
那么比亚迪的话呢，我们还是比较关注和认可吧。我们的磷酸铁锂电池将来应该是，特别是在电动车使用的领域中，应该是主流之一。
As battery technology keeps evolving, BYD still continue the direction of our current technology of the battery.
工界的特别是这种钴啊、镍等这种金属啊。那么铁酸铁锂的话呢，我们首先既要解决这个资源短缺的问题啊。当然，通过比亚迪，大家可以看到我们刀片电池的这种变革性的技术，对安全实现它的安全性、可能量不就比 就是 BRD 这个刀片电池的包层能量密度基本上也可以做到和三元电池是一样的所以说我们很看好磷酸铁锂是未来电动车搭载电池最重要的一个技术方向。
In terms of resources, we still have a long way to go, like nickel, cadmium, and other elements are not sufficient. So in the course of developing batteries, we need to consider some lack of those elements, and then disruptive technology of blade battery will continue to be developed, but at the same time, NCM batteries energy density is the goal for blade battery to reach.
Thank you very much. And I have a few more questions, but maybe I'll come back to you later. Mr. Mattsson, I think for our audience, your presentation likely is very new on this topic, given that deployment of hydrogen for marine applications still at its infancy. If I may have a few basic questions for you, the first one being around the choice of liquid hydrogen. As you mentioned, there are different options with ammonia as well as liquid organic hydrogen carriers. Can you please share with us why for your project you chose to go with liquid hydrogen instead of ammonia?
Yes, for that specific project, the rationality behind liquid hydrogen is that we are it's a part of a complex project for developing the production of liquid hydrogen and the end user. So in some way was set to be liquid hydrogen. But on a general basis, from the perspective of using electric drive chain and fuel cells, currently we don't know about any ammonia fuel cells available in the market, but for hydrogen there are available PEM fuel cells. And by using liquid hydrogen, we are able to store more energy or more hydrogen in one tank compared to compressed hydrogen. And of course, there are some security issues also involved with the compressed hydrogen. So that's the reason why we go for liquid hydrogen on that project. But as I mentioned, we are looking into several projects and also looking into ammonia, but maybe mainly for combustion engines.
Thank you very much, and that gives me an opportunity. Maybe actually I should have started with this question first. So looking at the needs of marine transport, particularly for long haul, the sort of the debate versus between combustion versus fuel cells. Is there a clear answer to that question right now, or is this something that we're gonna have to spend a few years and then have actually ships deployed with the different technologies before we can conclude?
Absolutely, that's a very, very hard question. But in my presentation, I shared some information about the LNG and the LNG rollout. And what we saw from the LNG rollout was that the first engines, for LNG, it's combustion, just to mention that. But for the first engines, we saw there was some emissions not aware of when we started to use LNG, for instance, methane emission, which is very bad for the greenhouse gas. So we believe that if we are going to use combustion engines, we need to really look into what is emitting, because a combustion are always giving some exhaust with some emissions that could be a challenge. So in that respect, the fuel cell is safer compared to a climate and emission side, I believe. But it's a hard question.
Thank you very much. I think at this time, I do want to give an opportunity to our audience, both physically and virtually, to pose their questions as well. Dr. Park, I'm not sure if there are any questions from the floor. I do have many more questions on my side, but if there are any, if you could please let me know.
예. 먼저 하나 물어보고 싶습니다.
First, I want to ask Mr. Kim, Dr. Kim from KEPCO. KEPCO is trying a lot of pioneering projects and CFI, control flexibility, so-called project, and then there are some interesting projects going on by KEPCO, and I want to ask some realistic aspects of questions. You also do a lot of investment, but then by investing certain amount of money, can you actually expect some efficiency or cost-wise? You believe that's the necessary project, but it costs a lot? I'm just curious. That is very difficult question. But I will say this. When it comes to renewable energy, yeah, it is a good energy source. But is it possible that you can do something good with a cheaper price? I'm sure we have to bear some burden if you want to do something for good. Especially to protect environment, it costs at some level. But the issue here is that we can try to reduce that price increase, and I think that's the role that the public corporation like us or the companies or R&D research institute should do, and I think that answered the question.
And Mr. Madison, about a shipping side of it. And I'm not familiar with the shipping, particularly cargo business. I like to understand the cost side of it compared with it's liquid hydrogen or a battery or a fossil engine. What do you think about this? This side.
The cost for the new solutions are extremely high because it's in a very early phase of development. So hopefully by scaling up and doing more product development, the engine cost in the future will be more comparable with the fossil engines. But in this initial phase, we need public support to make this development. And I believe that IMO are looking into possibilities for having layers on the CO2 emission to support some development fundings. But it's a challenge. And the hydrogen fuel compared to fossil fuel is also very expensive. So we are adding up in both ends, both for the capex for building the vessel and the cost for fueling the vessel.
I see. Thank you. Mr. Hong, what do you think about this? I don't hear you.
Yeah, actually, we have some studies about this one, but actually from the transportation cost, if we expect now, I believe the number will be 53 euros per megawatt hour. But in 2050, of course, during a massive electrification of all energy sectors, the cost will be only slightly higher, but only the drop to from 55 drop to 54 euro per megawatt hour. So, but this is due to the increasing. But as Mr. Mason said, it's really a hot topic at this moment because we don't have balance. Even, of course, now there are a lot of battery suppliers like CATL and also BYD. Yeah. They already get massive productions, but hydrogen or even liquid hydrogen or even the methane, those technology, the capacity is pretty small. compared to contribute all the energy trend or energy demands. So I believe in we battery at this moment, I would say currently this is far compared to other technology at this moment. From my point of view, this is the we would say the contribution or the cost would be lower compared to other technologies at this moment. But of course, its disadvantage is also huge because you can see the storage, energy storage system, and the capacity you want to carry on for one-time charging, for example, especially for marine. This is some kind of the huge investment at this moment. So this is a short answer I can provide.
I see. Thank you. Well, one more question for Mr. Madison. And what do you think about safety? You know, if you use liquid hydrogen for cargo, safety is okay. What do you think about it?
Hydrogen is a new cargo, but so far we have seen that transportation liquid hydrogen is possible as a cargo, and within ISO containers, we believe it's a safer or easier way of transporting hydrogen compared to containers with compressed hydrogen. So we believe it's possible, but of course it's a security issue, and we need to investigate in all aspects of transporting liquid hydrogen.
Thank you. Okay, Ali, that's about it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Farn. So on my side, if I may, I will continue with my questions. If I may, Mr. Mattsson, actually, I'm sorry, I think you're getting a lot of questions given it's a new topic, but Norway has been at the forefront of transportation decarbonization, looking from road vehicles and marine as well, as you just showed us earlier in your presentation. What advice do you have for Korea, particularly for policymakers, but also for Korea's shipbuilding industry, given that this is actually a major, as you may be aware, a major part of Korea's economic base in terms of how should they approach decarbonization?
I think I should be very careful giving any advice, but as one of my slide has as a heading was "Seeing is Believing." And I believe that it's important to have some ambitious projects to show that it's possible. And I don't know very much about electric car, even I have my own electric car, because almost everyone in Norway have an electric car. But the first electric car 15 years ago was not a big success, I guess, and was very expensive, I assume. And the battery was very bad and poor and expensive. But by adding up and by gaining all the resources from the research and the businesses and the governments, you have been able to make a fantastic industry for electric cars. And I believe it's possible to do the same for the maritime industry. And it's even not only possible, but it's a demanding for us in the maritime industry to do our part of the decarbonization. The maritime industry is emitting almost 3% of the global greenhouse emission. It's compared to some of the largest countries in the world. So we need to do something, and we have to investigate various options, and the same for the Korean maritime industry. I believe we should be open-minded and ambitious in our investigation for opportunities or solutions, because we need to find opportunities, and I'm sure they are there in the future.
Thank you very much. On that note, if I may bring back Mr. Kim into our discussion. So over the last decade, we've seen many European utilities take the lead on adopting renewables, but also recently we're seeing them get into the hydrogen sector. I believe Mr. Mattsson alluded to the role that Equinor, for example, is playing in the hydrogen supply chain for this project. but we've seen others like NL, particularly now talking about green hydrogen production. To the extent that's possible, can you share with us how KEPCO thinks about hydrogen?
Not only KEPCO, but the entire Korea believes that the hydrogen economy is the future. So-called gray hydrogen, and the LNG-related hydrogen, is a little bit cheaper, but due to environmental issues, there might be more limits and restrictions. And green hydrogen, on the other hand, is ideal but very pricey. So it's hard to apply right away a lot on site. So we have to focus on how to create green hydrogen, and so-called blue hydrogen is the next project we are working on right now at KEPCO. By 2030, hopefully, green hydrogen will be probably at the level of that of gray hydrogen right now, and that's where we invest time and effort and capital. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Liu, if I may bring you to this discussion, if I understand correctly, BYD has in the past also explored opportunities of sort of hybrid drivetrains of fuel cells plus batteries for buses. Do you have any views around the potential for fuel cells to complement the role of batteries in decarbonizing road transport, or in your view, batteries alone are good enough?
He's listening to Chinese translation. Please hold on.
因为现在在很长一段时间来的话，我们相信这个比亚迪的电动车的战略应该是纯电动和插电式混合电动啊，我们是要两条腿走。
BYD 같은 경우에는 순 전기차를 발전을 하면서 순 전기차 플러스 플러그인 하이브리드 차량을 지금 같이 발전을 하고 있습니다.
High EV and hybrid EV are ongoing projects of BYD. I'm not sure if you know, but this year we launched our new technology called super hybrid, and we call it so-called BYD hybrid.
可以做到3.8升100公里。
This technology help the oil consumption for every 100 kilometers, maybe 3.8 liter of consumption of oil. For short distance driving, you can use electricity. If it's a long-term driving, we can use a little bit of help from the gasoline. And some vehicles are already mounted with the technology, and there are big demands, and we are actually short in supply for vehicles mounted with this technology. So in our e-vehicle division in BYD, I'm sure we boost some consumers' desires to buy more electric vehicle, and that's the direction that we are working on right now at BYD. For hydrogen vehicle in China, is one of a mega trend as a part of the renewable energy fueled vehicle. We haven't been yet launching any hydrogen vehicle, so I should listen to others more. Thank you.
I do realize we're sort of in the last 10 minutes of our session, and I want to make sure that I do hand over to Mr. Bang to kick off the next session on time. Are there any other questions from our audience, physically in Jeju or online?
Hi, this is Scott Bang. I have a quick question to Mr. Madsen. I know this is a hot potato topic. So natural progression of hydrogen from compressed to liquid. And automatically we can think about next step would be a solid state hydrogen fuel stack. What do you think the feasibility of it? And maybe your perspective on timing? I think there is a research and pilot programs for energy storage system that utilizes solid state hydrogen fuel stack. What do you think perspective on mobility on a vessel or automotive? I know it is a hot potato topic, so.
It's tough questions.
That's why I asked.
I'm not in a position to evaluate the different technical solutions, but we know about the research, some of the research you mentioned, and personally, I'm a technology optimist. So I believe the global society will find solutions, and I certainly agree that in the future we most likely will have a hydrogen economy, and hopefully all the technical providers will be able to develop both high temperature fuel cells and PEM fuel cells and other applications we are not able to see today. So what we are trying to develop within Topeka in the Wilhelmsen Group is flexible shipping solutions, because a vessel will last for 20, maybe 25 years. So we need to try to design a very flexible powertrain so we can change or do some modifications in the future when the industry have discovered new ways of solving issues. And yeah, I think that's my answer.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bang and Mr. Madsen. So with that, I'm gonna ask our panelists to share their closing thoughts with us. And if I may, I will pose a question to all of you. You can consider directly answering it, or if you have any other closing thoughts, that would be great as well. Earlier last month, IPCC, the United Nations group that proposes advice to governments around climate change, they published their latest report showing that the global temperature rise has already reached 1.07 degrees. And they also proposed sort of the different potential pathways and how much temperature change that would result. To summarize it, essentially, we have about, give or take, 3 decades to cut down emissions to close to zero, to be able to stay within a 2 degrees temperature rise relative to pre-industrial revolution levels. With that note, of all the technologies that we talked about for decarbonization of transport sector, do you believe that we're going to be able to accelerate the technology development and deployment to be able to decarbonize at the pace required to keep us within that 2-degree or below pathway? I know it's a bit of a loaded question, so essentially I'm asking you, do you believe that we're going to be able to prevent catastrophic climate change? And with that, maybe Mr. Madsen, if I can start with you, please.
Again, it's a very, very difficult question. But I don't think we have any options other than succeed. So then we need to succeed, and repeat myself, seeing is believing, and you from the electric car side have shown us it's possible to make huge development steps. So yes, I believe it's possible. It's going to be hard. It's going to need a global cooperation, and we need to share information and insight, and this kind of conferences is very important to share information between the different transportation modes and businesses. So yes, we have to stay on and do the good work.
Thank you very much for the hopeful message. Mr. Liu, same question to you.
We're still waiting for Chinese translation. Please hold on.
对，因为技术的发展其实已经超出我们的想象，包括现在大家在讨论的这个 AI 也是一样啊。那么技术，但是呢，在技术的发展过程中，我们特别是在电动车的产业里面啊，我们一定要以安全为主啊，要充分的进行验证。这个呢，如果从时间角度上来讲的话呢，其实大家都在跟时间赛跑啊，我们的技术在跟时间赛跑，产品在跟时间赛跑，然后呢，社会的这种配套体系。 法治法规其实都在跟时间赛跑。我想未来面对灾难是所有地球人的共同责任啊！无论你是在哪一个行业，从事什么样的工作啊，我们都希望能够大家共同协作，来打一场这种治理地球灾害的一场战役。
First, technological development and its pace is unprecedentedly fast. So, for example, AI technology is under my imagination. So, electrification brought us some concerns about safety, and that definitely needs some verification process for safety. And the verification means we need to take enough time to make sure safety is guaranteed. And we are basically in the race, running race, while we have to. It's pretty ironic that we're in the race, but we have to secure enough time to make sure everything is okay. And everything is a matter of a time. And to respond to climate change, I think it's individual citizens' responsibility, and regardless of the areas of the industry, and it needs the collective action to tackle climate change.
I think,
Thank you very much.
I think it's about time.
Yes.
To finish up. So
sure. So maybe we will keep it very quick. So Mr. Hong, if you could please keep your response very short.
Okay.
Yeah, we have no choice.
No,
we have no choice. So I believe not only in transportations, but also in other segments, including the heat powers. So how to cut or terminate the emissions and transfer to other energy source, for example, PV, photovoltaic, voltage. Those one we need a comprehensive energy for revolutions. Compare stuff from now on. Yeah. My show
Thank
summary.
you very much. Thank you. Mr. Kim, you get the last word.
Yes. 예.
To make it brief, decarbonization is something that we have to achieve with the technology that we don't have it yet, while maintaining all the existing technologies, and we need to just add this one big technology. And we will have some bridging technologies along the way, and I hope to have a collective manner in our R&D. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all your insightful presentations and responses. And I apologize for going over time. With that, again, I would like to thank all our speakers and panelists today. And I will hand it back to Dr. Park.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And Ali, thank you for your moderation. And we'll take a break for 5 minutes, and let's resume the second session. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
아, 네. 잘 하시고. 예. 나 보면 예. 유본 부장이 4시 20분에 나온다고 했습니다. 아, 네. 예. 화면이 어떻게 구성된지 잘 몰라가지고. 아, 저희 에너지 경제 연구원은 저희 정책하는. 네. V2G 시장, 지금 저희가 하는 V2G 시장 사실상 어떻게 하면 구축할 수 있어요. 그래서 신재생 에너지 산업을 어떻게 대응해야 하는 그런. 지금 이번 세션 같은 경우는 통일된 게 없어요. 통일된 사항은 없고요. 저는 어차피 질문 자체를 좀 약간 리뉴어블 에너지하고 전기자동차랑 그리고 꿀관계를 어차피 하시고 이제 마지막에 질문을 제가 한두 개만 정도 하고 그 다음에 제가 아는 범위 내에서 질문을 잠깐 하도록 하겠습니다. 어떤 질문 하실 건가요? 원하시는 질문이 있으면 뭐 따로 없는데 이게 지금 어떤 질문 지금 좀 더 헷갈리는 게 오늘 발표하시는 분들이 하나는 이제 전기자동차 플랫폼 하는 스타트업이고요, 이스라엘에서요. 그리고 하나는 사이버 시큐리티 하는 회사이고 하나는 이제 스마트 팩토리 하는 회사거든요. 그러니까 좀 연결이 좀 불확실하게 있어가지고요. 제가 그 질문하기 되게 좀 애매합니다. 그래서 제가 물어보게 된다 그러면은 실질적으로 에너지 경제 연구원한테는 전기자동차가 활성화가 됐을 때 진짜 뭐 이제 인프라스트럭처에 대한 준비 레디네스 그 정도 있지 않을까 싶고요. 다른 내용들은 뭐 이제 아까 말씀드린 EV 플랫폼 회사한테는 뭐 고객이 뭐냐 그런 거 정도 그냥 디스커션을 좀 한 10분 15분 발표 때 길게 해주고 싶어요. 네. 근데 저희가 전기자동차 인프라는 저희가 그렇죠. 인프라보다는 사실 에너지 쪽에 초점이 더 많은 것 같아요. 아, 예, 그렇죠. 그러니까 그리드 쪽에 하고 이제 리뉴어블 에너지 인프라하고 사실 서플라이 이제 그쪽이 되겠죠. 제가 만약에 제가 질문하게 된다면 저희 전기자동차 된다고 하는데 사실 그렇게 됐을 때 이제 그리드 쪽, 인프라 쪽에서의 밸런스가 안 맞을 거 같은데 그거에 대한 솔루션에 코멘트를 좀 부탁드리겠습니다. 그 정도 질문만 나오지 않을까 싶습니다. 그 정도. 왜냐면 이게 요청을 받아서 자체가 이렇게 연결성이 없어서 되게 힘들 것 같아요. 네.
발표하실 때 포디움을 쓰시는 게 편하세요? 무선 마이크를 왔다 갔다 하시는 게 편하세요? 전 발표자는 포디움 쓰시긴 하거든요.
그냥 무슨 왔다 갔다 하지는 않을 거예요. 그냥 서서.
그러면 포디움 가운데로 당겨드릴게요. 아니면 무선 마이크 들고 그냥.
그냥 무슨 마이크 들고.
포디움 안 쓰시는 거죠?
포디움 정확히 뭔지 몰라요.
저거요.
어떤 거?
저 단상이요.
아, 단상이요?
단상.
저기서 그냥 할게요.
그러면 가운데로 당겨드릴게요.
네. 가운데로요? 더 부담스러워.
화면 때문에.
화면이 어디서 나와요?
화면 여기를 저희가 뒤에서 카메라 잡기 때문에.
가운데로 가야 되는데요. 그러면
이렇게 하긴 하거든요. 아니면 그냥 돌려만 드릴까요?
돌려만.
Okay, everybody, let's resume the second session. Okay, as I explained before, the second session is organized by President and CEO Sung Yong Pang, Scott Pang in Greenwich. So we already explained all of the, its organization and how to organize and. But briefly say, due to the time limitation and the tight schedule, the committee officially decided to invite a few distinguished speakers this time. Okay, now Mr. Pang, and all yours now.
Good afternoon. My name is Scott Bang. I'm CEO of Greenergy. Greenergy is a tech startup company that is trying to revolutionize safety, fast charging, and cool temperature performance of lithium-ion batteries. So I believe this is the last session of the day, so we'll try to be very concise and brief. Before I start, I would like to thank International EV Expo Committee for organizing this roundtable to discuss this very important topic. Today, we are honored with 4 excellent speakers. Daniel Barrel from RE in Israel. I believe you are in France or another country right now. Also Andrew Till from Trustonic. I believe you are in Great Britain. And in the conference room, Kevin Lee from Hexagon, Korea, and also Sungmoon Lee from Korea Energy Economy Institute. 4 presenters will make their presentation on various topics related to energy and EV sectors. Then we will wrap up this session with a short panel discussion. Without further delay, we will start with Daniel's presentation. Daniel is a CEO and co-founder of RE. RE is an innovation company that develops the most advanced EV platform. Daniel graduated from the Hebrew University in 2004. Since then, he founded several innovation startup companies, including RE in 2013. Dan's presentation topic is Zero Emission World, powered by RE. Floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for joining. I will attempt to share my screen, hopefully. I want to share with you a little bit about RE and what is it that we do. We live naturally now in a very exciting era where electrification and electric vehicles and autonomous vehicles are becoming the standard in mobility. And RE is designed to accelerate exactly that. Our vision is to become the cornerstone of electric mobility, to become the basis upon which all EVs, regardless to size, type, or kind, will be powered. And we've done this by creating a very, very unique technology that we call the RE Corner. Let me show you what it looks like. So the RE Corner is the basis of everything that we build. We've taken everything that makes the car go, the motor, the suspension, the drivetrain, the steering, control, and put it in an area between the chassis and the wheel. We're not using hub motors or in-wheel motors. We're using a different kind of technology that allows us to pack everything, like you just saw in the animation, outside of the chassis, between the chassis and the wheel. And that allows us to be very, very modular. We're completely agnostic to dimensional change, meaning any size of vehicle. We're completely agnostic to power source, may it be battery or fuel cells, and we're completely agnostic to the driver because it's all by wire. It is as easy to drive it by a human or by a machine. The ability for our serviceability is unique. We've created something that takes away the majority of the costs related to total cost of ownership. The maintenance that we provide is hassle-free. There is no more spare parts. You take one corner out and you replace it with a brand new corner. The downtime is less than an hour. Very, very similar to a Formula One pit stop where you come in, exchange whatever you need to change, and go out there to keep on performing. This is super important in a world of commercial vehicles and mobility as a service where you want the service or deliveries to keep on going without interference. And of course, everything around our corners is very, very smart. We've got a lot of sensors providing tons of data that allows our AI to later on connect different dots within this data system to allow for intelligent decision making. That makes us very, very unique in today's industry where we are literally becoming the cornerstone of electric mobility.
The ReCorner's unique single-wheel X-by-wire technology controls and monitors each corner of the vehicle, yielding unparalleled modularity, safety, and efficiency. When it comes to commercial vehicles, the goal is to perform longer and better with minimal downtime. It's all about TCO, total cost of ownership. ReCorner is designed to drive it down. The ReCorner is an advanced full EV system that meshes motor, drivetrain, steering, braking, suspension, and control components into one package. As a result, the entire system can be replaced as a single module in less than an hour, entirely eliminating the need for long maintenance and complicated spare part inventory management. Our modular platforms are designed to last longer and perform better, meaning your fleet is always on the road. Low total cost of ownership, minimum downtime, simplified spare part inventory, AI predictive maintenance, and real-time over-the-air updates, all enabled by the ReCorner. We're the cornerstone of the next generation mobility.
So we have as you saw, five different corners designs that are applicable for a very wide variety of vehicles. From very small vehicles under 1 ton to very large vehicles at 12 and even higher ton gross weight. And that is built again on a very modular approach. The ability not only to create different sizes of vehicle, but different capabilities, all-wheel drive, all-wheel steer, through front-wheel drive, front-wheel steer. We actually created a very unique configurator that allows our customers to build exactly from the bottom up the exact vehicle they're looking for. You can find it on our website, and this is a sneak peek of how it looks like. So with that, we basically have far more volumetric efficiency, more than 36% more volume per footprint. So the vehicle can be the same length, the same width, but can pack 36% more. So if you're in the delivery business, you can deliver 36% more packages, reducing significantly the total cost per package. Or if you want to deliver the same amount of package, we can build smaller vehicles. And I think this is very apparent in the diagram here on the right. We also are best in class in other specifications, such as turning radius, which is very important for in-city maneuverability, stepping height, and battery capacity. Our total cost of ownership is amongst the lowest in the industry. And if you compare us to combustion engines, and this is a class 2 and this is a class 4 vehicles, you can see that we outperform both, of course, conventional ICE and electric vehicles. We work with the leaders in automotive today, everybody from our partnership, very exciting partnership with Hino, which is, of course, Toyota, Magna, Mitsubishi Corporation, the Poindexter Group, which is a leader in North America, Navia, and others. For one example is our collaboration with Hino on building this platform, which is powered by RE, to be the future of mobility in the sense that there is one platform, as you can see here on the left, fully modular, that services a wide variety of different applications, different sizes, different weights, one platform. Very, very modular, very, very efficient. This is how we see the business alliance that we've signed with Hino. And with that, I want to thank you all for taking the time and learning a little bit more about RE and what is it that we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Looks like RE's solution is not just a electrification innovation, but innovation of vehicle packaging and vehicle development process. I think all traditional OEMs are going to be very, very scared. Our next speaker is Andrew Till from Trustonic. Andrew is speaking from Great Britain, I believe. Andrew is a general manager of secure platform at Trustonic. He graduated from Brunel University. Since then, he worked on several international companies, such as Harman International and Motorola, before he joined Trustonic in 2020. Today, he will speak on design security into the heart of your electric vehicle. Go ahead, Andrew.
Thank you. And just to check, do I need to share my screen or will you display the slides?
I think it might be best if you share it.
Perfect. Then I will do that. Okay, first of all, let me say it's a pleasure to be invited to speak this afternoon. And what I'd like to do is to give you a very quick introduction to Trustonic and then share why we believe that cybersecurity is going to be an extremely important part of the industry moving forwards. So for anybody not familiar with Trustonic, we were founded 10 years ago by Arm and Gemalto and G&D. We recently became an independent company and have been working in cybersecurity since our inception. We have, over the last 4 to 5 years, seen a very strong growth in the automotive industry, and today we have more than 40 million vehicles under backlog and about 17 to 18 million vehicles on the road that are running our cybersecurity solutions. And you can see here a number of the companies that we work with and also some of the different industry forums that we are engaged with. One of the reasons why we believe that cybersecurity truly matters as we move forwards is that there are these massive shifts taking place in the automotive industry. We're seeing the growth of ADAS and the importance of autonomous driving. We're seeing next generation in-vehicle consumer experiences, especially around the IVI systems and the ability to stream content into the platforms. And we're also seeing big shifts in the business models and a lot of focus on things like revenue sharing, which requires a very different approach. And of course, what we're here talking about today, the entire shift of moving the drivetrain over towards an electric platform, as we've just seen in the previous presentation. But of course, what all that means is that there are a lot more lines of code and much more software now going into the vehicles, and all of that really needs to be protected. What we are also seeing is that it's, for the last few years, I think cybersecurity has been something that the industry has talked about a lot. We've got some new regulations and standards coming into place, but we're now seeing that it's becoming a key consumer issue. It's very important for consumers that when they're selecting the next brand of vehicle, that they feel protected and that the vehicle is able to provide that protection throughout the lifetime of the vehicle. We're seeing that the regulators have also started to move, and I'll touch on this in a moment. And I think from some of the industry issues that we've seen over the last 12 to 18 months, when there are breaches, it does become a big reputational issue. So if we just take a look at some of the latest data, this is from a new study by IDC released just over a few weeks ago, and really starting now for the first time to show that consumers who are looking to buy a new vehicle within the next year are really putting a strong focus on security and protection. And this is one study. There are many, many studies in the industry that are now starting to show this same awareness and sensitivity around new vehicle purchases. And we're also seeing from a regulatory standpoint, new regulations like the UNECE WP 29, and within that now the requirement for new vehicles from 2024 to fully incorporate cybersecurity in order to achieve type approval, both in terms of the vehicle design, but importantly, the ability to over-the-air deploy software updates to protect vehicles and enhance the level of security throughout the vehicle's life cycle. And of course, in Korea, the Korean market is already moving very, very aggressively towards implementing the WP29 regulations ahead of 2024. And so I think we will see a lot of very exciting projects in and around the cybersecurity area in Korea over the coming 12 to 18 months. And of course, I think it's also important to say when we talk about cybersecurity, and for anyone designing a next generation EV vehicle, the use cases are now really proliferating very strongly. Traditionally, when people think of cybersecurity, they think of key protection, they will think about immobilizers, maybe DRM, but we're now seeing that cybersecurity is touching every domain inside the vehicle. It's the enhancing secure OTA capabilities, it's the vehicle to infrastructure and vehicle to vehicle connectivity. Secure charging is now a big focus, particularly for EVs, and making sure that the vehicle is protected from the grid, but also the vehicle protects the grid and doesn't enable attacks to be launched from the vehicle against national infrastructure. And likewise, as the vehicles become more and more personalized, I think what we're seeing with electric vehicles is they're not only using electric powertrains, but they are delivering much more personalized user experiences and vehicle occupant experiences because they're moving to these next generation platforms. And all of that data now needs to be protected. Here in Europe, we have regulations such as GDPR, which are now starting to also become relevant for next generation vehicle design. So I think as we move forward, we will only see more and more domains inside the vehicle that require protection and are then seeing that protection requirement turned into law and legislation. And of course, coming back to the business models, we're seeing a very strong focus now on the sharing economy, the drive towards delivering connected services. Many OEMs talk about generating billions of dollars of revenue from the services they will be able to deliver into the vehicle. And also the concept of pay-to-play services coming into new vehicle services. And all of these are very valid, but they also require a new focus and a new attitude towards security and protecting what happens inside the vehicle. And I think one area that is also often overlooked is there are many third-party companies. You can see on here companies like Android or Netflix or Amazon with their Alexa automotive strategy that are intending to play in the automotive world, but are now bringing their own security requirements. And so we have seen recently that Amazon released a new set of security requirements which are much more stringent for the presence of an embedded Alexa implementation. And they now require that the underlying platform is secure before you're able to achieve certification for Alexa. And I think this points the way to, again, what is going to happen to the industry over the next few years as we see more partnerships and more relationships with third-party content providers, that those content providers will not just be happy to have access to in-vehicle experiences and to be able to deliver those services, but they will expect the vehicles to be very secure and to provide full protection against their back-end services. So while we see a lot of excitement and a lot of great innovation going on in automotive, I think all of the innovations and all of the new revenue streams that are being viewed need to, at the same time, be deployed with very strong, very robust cybersecurity moving forwards. From a Trustonic standpoint, we believe very strongly in trust as the beginning of security, and having that hardware root of trust built into the chipset level, enabling secure communications within the vehicle, enabling the vehicle to validate what it's connecting to and what it's connecting to the vehicle, and using that as the foundational layer of building out these very robust, very advanced security capabilities. And of course, we're all very familiar that there are more and more chipsets now going into vehicles. So this is a natural, we believe, evolution for EVs, that they're able to use hardware-backed security to provide the foundational layers that higher-level services such as firewalls or antivirus systems, etc., can be built on top of. And so I will finish here. I think, again, what we would say is for OEMs looking at next generation vehicle design, security really needs to be in the heart of the vehicle, frankly, whether it's an electric vehicle or whether it's a traditional petrol or diesel-based drivetrain, but security needs to be there at the very beginning of that vehicle design architecture. There are many new risks emerging that we have to accommodate, but also those risks are linked to massive opportunity for the industry to drive new revenue streams and deliver amazing new experiences to vehicle users. And I would say that there is no silver bullet. Unfortunately, security is always a continuing and evolving landscape. But again, from our side, we believe that starting with a strong and robust hardware-backed, trust-based environment allows you to build the next generation security architectures that will be needed to protect vehicle users and the world around the vehicle moving forwards. So I will finish there and hand back to the chair.
Thank you, Andrew. I agree that cybersecurity is not just for electric vehicles, but vehicles in general. I think that it is going to be very critical. Electrification of the vehicle definitely enabled a lot of innovations, but electrification created whole new problems for cybersecurity. So I look forward to a future of cybersecurity in vehicle itself. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you can stay on a little bit longer for a panel discussion later, I would greatly appreciate it. So our next presenter is Kevin Lee. Kevin is Korea Regional Manager for Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence, a part of Romex company. Kevin worked at several international hardware and software companies, such as Doosan Infracore, ANSYS, and PTC. His presentation title is E-Mobility, the Dawn of Revolution. Floor is yours, sir.
안녕하세요.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? 영어로.
Okay, I prepared the Korean script. Let me start.
Good afternoon and good evening. My name is Kevin Lee. I'm a regional manager at Romex Korea as a part of the Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence Division. Recently, the topic of carbon neutrality or net zero is being very important agenda, not only global but also Korea. Also, certified emission reduction training would be more active gradually. As one of the best topics of carbon neutrality, e-mobility as the title and the dawn of a revolution seems to be a perfect fit for today's topic. My presentation has 5 elements. First, short introduction of the hexagon. Second, accelerating electrification. Third, some key elements of electric vehicle. And it's about creating a core components for e-vehicles. This topic might be unmatched, to some VIPs today because this would be more focusing on engineering technology. But I think we should talk about this topic because it would be important for EV development and manufacturing. Fourth, I would like to briefly talk about smart manufacturing for e-mobility. Smart manufacturing capability is one of the most important points for future manufacturing, especially for e-mobility. Last topic is strategies for digital transformation for e-mobility. Before I begin, I would like to talk about Hexagon and to understand Hexagon's capability and responsibility for e-mobility and carbon neutrality. Hexagon has a lot of different points from companies that you know. What is unique about us is our portfolio of sensor, software, and autonomous solutions. I don't believe there is a company out there with a similar portfolio mix. Through merger and acquisitions, Hexagon has been expanding business areas to mobility, autonomy, and smart manufacturing. Romex is where I belong and has been acquired by Hexagon in 2020. Most acquired companies by Hexagon focuses on e-mobility and smart manufacturing area. Headquarters of Hexagon is located in Sweden, and Manufacturing Intelligence Division's headquarters is located in the UK. As you can see, throughout the 3 major global markets, our sales are quite evenly split across. Hexagon is paying attention to software development, and about 35% of the employees are involved in software development. That means that we are a company that is committed to new solutions that scale with the needs of our customers. Wherever you need us, we work with you to make it smarter. This slide summarizes our strategies. The legacy of a hexagon has been always connected to data, and the core functions of hexagon verifies it. 20 years ago, it became a leading company in the area of a sensor solution. And in the field of sensor data, we started to invest in the software solutions to create more values. And today, by utilizing sensor and software leadership, Hexagon enables autonomous solutions. In brief, smart manufacturing relies on digitally connected data being made available throughout the manufacturing process from concept to customer. By digitalizing the workflow, you can leverage data you already have more efficiently and provide a wealth of business benefits. By embedding quality into all aspects of the process, adding agility, flexibility, and scalability, while increasing innovation and improving productivity. Next is a major of my topics. The topic is accelerating electrification. Looking at data, major countries have aggressive plans for being electric. China has a plan for 25% up to 2025. Japan has a plan between 23 and 33 up to 2030. And all these goals is going to ban internal combustion engine car registration. In Germany, it's 2050. As you're well aware, in Korea, according to 2050 carbon neutrality plan, it is looking at the active transformation to e-mobility, such as e-vehicle, e-shipping, and UAM, or urban air mobility. This will be one of the best ways to meet the carbon neutral goal. 100% EV is the keyword today. 100% EV is plug into holistic suite of e-mobility solutions for design and engineering, production, and metrology. Hexagon offers in the industry an integrated approach to improve, speed up, and simplify the development of electric vehicles by targeting key challenges facing designers, engineers, and manufacturers. Hexagon provides solutions for design and engineering, production metrology, all of which provide data that can help manufacturers improve processes. From the stage of design and engineering to production and then metrology, each function of your manufacturing ecosystem can be made smarter, and we have solutions to help you do this. EV engineers utilize the new simulation technologies which can help them solve big problems along the way towards the e-mobility. Thermal management, range anxiety, quality and performance, noise, vibration, and harshness and safety, environment impact, driver and passenger experiences are the examples. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm not sure if I dive too much into technological and technical elements. However, I believe that I should bring out some technological agenda today because we need to know which key technologies are required to realize 100% EV. As a key components for EV, first I can pick out some e-powertrain made of e-motor, e-drivetrain, and power electronics, also called inverter. and battery or fuel cells for providing electric power to e-motor, new materials to reduce weight or to fit new platforms, new type of interior and exterior are required. To realize 100% EV, let's look into what key technologies are needed for the transformation of e-mobility. Many new features are required for e-mobility, such as battery and fuel cells, lightweightening, materials for new type of EV platform, cabin interiors for new required functions, new required exterior and aerodynamics. And if we can add autonomous driving to be a function, it could be a better function for e-mobility. Now let's talk about some pending issues. First, anxiety about the range. Second, issue of manufacturing and quality assurance. Third, driver and passengers' experience. Last, vehicle performance and safety. I believe the two previous presenters probably agree with me on this. To realize EV development, we need to consider comprehensive design and engineering technologies such as electric powertrain with optimized vehicle, battery with thermal management and safety, optimized body with lightweightening, and new materials and aerodynamics. One of many important technologies is e-powertrain. Power density is a major goal. Greater power density is a primary performance aim. All the OEM have an ambition for power density to overcome range anxiety. Have a smaller and more powerful e-powertrain provides much more versatility in how it can be used. A larger, less power e-powertrain can be limiting. It is possible to categorize the challenges experienced in the e-powertrain design process into 4 groups. First, architecture. The arrangement of the e-powertrain components and interfaces with other vehicle systems. Second, durability. How many cycles of components and thus the vehicle will last, as well as the max load they can withstand, is the issue. Targeting higher cycles as longer vehicle life, the max load in line with any and all necessary safety requirements for the vehicle. As you can see, third is NVH, or noise, vibration, and harshness. While considering the noise of the system, you have to concern how comfortable passengers are when the power was delivered, and the vehicle should be designed with durable noise and experience. Last, efficiency. How much energy is required to operate the system is the key, and targeting high efficiency energy usage. Now I will explain the core technology that applies to motors and gearboxes among the components of the powertrain. First is a noise, vibration, and harshness optimization technology with acoustic analysis issued by the motor by analyzing motor housing vibrations through electromagnetic forces of the motor. Second, application of a various simulation technology and efficiency optimization technology through e-powertrain system analysis. This will help you choose and optimize the e-powertrain architecture with approximately 30% cost reduction and 2% of efficiency. Also, high-precision quality measuring equipment can help produce uniform and high-quality products. In addition, technology that increases the efficiency of e-powertrain cooling and simulation of virtual 5-axis machines in advance to prevent any processing mistakes, such as motor or a gearbox. With the technology to assesses the durability of the e-powertrain before production and optimizes design with EMI shielding materials, we can increase design productivity and manufacturing productivity. As you can see, heat loads of the e-powertrain can be controlled in terms of the performances and durability. Optimal cooling allows downsizing or lightweight and big cost saving. As you can see on the right, there are some white noises. E-vehicle has some interesting annoying noise. Quiet drive train is the hallmark and the milestone of a quality e-vehicle and the only thing the customer will hear. We should consider the quality monitoring capabilities from what was designed. A, power system, for example, battery pack and e-motor. B, car body. C, new material. And D, data analysis. EV battery engineers will be able to simulate with the suitable solutions to simulate thermal flow inside of battery packs. EV battery, as you can see, should consider how to defect identification inside of a battery with the CT scan and analysis solutions like volume graphics. EV design engineers will be able to achieve extra 10 to 20% of weight reduction without prototyping with a new and diverse material through integrated computational materials and engineering technology. Some strength of a Hexagon MI is not only having and providing wider solutions such as simulation and production software and measurement devices for EV manufacturing, but providing them as the smart manufacturing solutions with integrated system. I think holistic and data-driven manufacturing method of a Hexagon is the key to overcome major tasks. A lot of manufacturers are isolated depending on their systems, locations, and departments. Once you integrate data in the process, you're able to support the feedback, you're able to support the cooperation with real-time feedback among all the stakeholders. That means we can greatly enhance the efficiency in a timely manner. From product concept to the final cost, final consumers, we can apply optimal design, continuous process improvement, and some condition changes. You can see some examples. This example was brought directly to the machine for the CMM measuring, and if needed, feedback goes to the machine for modification. It seems to be easy, but it can bring and provide more values by reducing wasted components. When we scale this concept up across the broader operation, holistic and data-driven approach can enable more autonomous processes, reduce time and resource use, and deliver process efficiency. Then what makes design and manufacturing smart? Since last July, we started our journey to provide cognitive engineering solutions. In all processes, we support for quality, speed, and accuracy. Also, by mounting deep learning, we can avoid damaging quality and safety that the customers need. Within a short period of time and with a low budget, we can provide the final product in the market. As we've discussed earlier, the potential for data leverage between manufacturing functions is considerable. By adding digital framework, we can do a faster and more efficient information flow and accelerates the feedback and optimization of the processes. Hexagon's smart manufacturing platform provides a key enabling technologies such as AI and machine learning to enable you to better harness the potential of your data and transform product development. To sum up, 100% EV is coming. Still, there are many technical challenges to overcome in terms of technical development and production. I believe we need to continue to invest and pay attention to enable 100% EVs through simulation-based engineering technologies and integrated smart manufacturing-based production technologies. That's it from me today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Many people think that electric motor and battery will allow electrification fairly quickly, but as you mentioned, the challenges are very, very big. I think industry as a whole needs to address it and put most effort into the electrification. So today's our last speaker of the day, Sungmun Lee from Korea Energy Economy Institute. Sungmun will speak on the result of the study on the response strategy of the renewable industry to the e-mobility growth. Floor is yours, sir.
Good afternoon. I would like to speak in Korean. Please be generous. Good afternoon. Once again, I am Lee Sungmun from Korea Energy Economics Institute. The presentation I'm going to make is a little bit different from the previous presentations because it is not technical at all. If EVs are introduced, how should we create markets? And what kind of impact would this EV make to our power system? That is the topic of my presentation. So it would not be a technical presentation. So I'm not sure whether my presentation suits your needs, but anyway, let me begin my presentation. So the title of my presentation is Study on the Response Strategy of the Renewable Industry to the E-Mobility Growth. First of all, I would like to talk about these 5 items. The first, brief introduction, and the second, the effect of smart charging on the power system, and the thirdly, if smart charging system is introduced, how would consumers behave? Would they accept it? And fourth, what would be the business model for smart charging? And last but not least, what is the implication of the smart charging? These are the 5 topics I'm going to discuss. So briefly introduce you to my research. The research is basically done because with the growth of the petroleum industry and the e-mobility industry, we wanted to find out the response going forward. I myself am focused into renewable energy and try to find out the response of the renewable industry to the e-mobility. The research has been going on for 4 years. It is in its 3rd year. And today's presentation would cover the result we got from the 2-year-long research that we have been doing. So if the renewable energy can be collected with the smart charging, we believe that the coupling of the transportation and the energy system can be done so that we can create a smart energy system, which will thus help us to go closer to the net zero society. Let me dig deeper. In 2020, the Korean government announced Korea 2050 carbon neutrality strategy. According to that strategy, by 2030, our greenhouse gas reduction target is 24.4% against the 2017 level. So it was 709 million tons, but our aim is to reduce the emission to 536 million tons. And the biggest reduction should come from power generation and the transportation. In order to decrease the CO2 amount from there, the most important policy effort should be made in the renewable sector. And when it comes to transportation, the dissemination of the EV cars would make a huge role. But would the introduction of the EV cars would make transportation sector carbon neutral? Is it really? In order to make transportation sector carbon neutral, of course, we have to have EV transition, but we need energy transition as well. Take a look at the graph. This shows that the CO2 emission by EV can vary depending on the power mix. If you look at India and South Africa, if you compare these countries, their energy mix is highly dependent on fossil fuels. And if in these countries EVs are introduced and disseminated, this EV dissemination can actually have a negative impact in terms of carbon reduction when compared to using just ICE cars, not replacing it by EVs. So what this means is that if EV car can reduce the CO2 emission depends on the energy mix. So depending on the energy mix, the amount of reduction that can be made from the EV car introduction is decided. With that, in order for us to achieve the temperature increase target of 2 degrees Celsius, we have to supply all the power for the EV cars with carbon neutral energy. That is the only way for us to attain the 2 degrees Celsius target to actually decrease the CO2 emission, by actually decreasing CO2 emission. What I'm trying to say is the EV is not enough. The energy that powers the EV should be clean energy. Once again, let me put it this way. Based on the current fossil fuel-based energy system, disseminating and spreading renewable energy and EV cars can pose 2 problems actually. First, the spread and wider use of EV would not give us good benefit or high benefit as we expect. And the other, if the renewable energy gets integrated into the power system that is basically based on fossil fuels, this can make the power system unstable and decrease the quality of the power generated. But if we can solve issues and introduce smart charging technology, we can enhance the flexibility of the power grid. That way, we can make sure renewable energy gets better integrated into the power system. And also, EV cars can give a lot more impact that we expect them of to give us. That means it can reduce more CO2 than without smart charging. So with the coupling of the power generation sector and the e-mobility sector, we can attain goals from these two sectors as well, which will help us to get closer to the net zero society that we aim for. The direction that we are going to go is this. So basically, we wanted to identify what should be the smart charging system from the macro perspective. And from the micro perspective, we wanted to see whether smart charging can actually play a role in stabilizing power system, and also how much consumers are willing to pay for this system. And thirdly, what should be the business model. The power system and the consumer acceptance and the business model survey was done in the first and the second and the third year respectively. And today I can share the results from my research from the first and the second years. So first, what is the effect of smart charging on the power system? In Korea, smart charging is oftentimes called V1G, as opposed to V2G. Then this one-way charging control or smart charging can play a meaningful role or effect in the power system. We took an example of Jeju Island. There is a report commissioned and was published by Jeju, and we took a look at the report to do some analysis. In 2030, the renewable energy to the entire energy mix is the goal. The goal is to make it 100%, and the target for EV spread is 75%. And if that's the case, the ratio of renewable energy to peak demand is rise from 46% as of 2019 to 144% as of 2025. And the number of EV cars will increase as well from 227,000 to 377,000 by 2030 if the goal holds true. And the battery capacity of the EV cars can reach 24,000 megawatts per hour. In order for us to do this analysis, we looked at the renewable energy power generation profiles, and we had to create it. All across the Jeju Island, coming up with renewable energy power generation all across the island was difficult. So we pointed 4 sites for wind power generation and 2 sites for solar power generation for the sake of the analysis. And according to the CIS report, the goal of power generation from the renewable energy would increase. And the target should be reached by the solar power, and the wind power, and should be distributed quite equally all across these 6 sites. And we also looked at the meteorological data that we got, and based on the data, we kind of predicted how much power will be generated from these 6 sites. And with that, we created this optimized power generation modeling. And we just picked one random summer day to come up with our predictions regarding the peak energy demand. In 2019, it is the basic demand that does not use the EV cars. And the red side means that added demand because of the EV. And if you look at the graph, that is the prediction that we have. And also, for the sake of analysis, we came up with 4 scenarios. First, based on this power system, we do not provide any control when EV cars try to charge themselves. That is as-is scenario. Then what kind of problem can we expect? That was the first scenario. And the second scenario was we created this net load and applied TOU charging system and applied it. And when TOU charging fees apply, I wanted to see what kind of impact it makes to the power system. And third scenario was V1G, so-called smart charging. When smart charging is introduced, what kind of impact it can make to the power system. And for the fourth scenario was V2G. When the two-way charging control can be done, what kind of impact will it create to the power system? That are the four hypotheses, four scenarios that we wanted to discuss. And if you look at this slide, this is to show on what condition or what presumption charging and discharging of the EV cars are done. And I think we can skip this slide. I don't know why, but this graph don't show up.
그림이 안 나타나는데.
They were kind of like important graphs. I would definitely want to share them. Can I just use my file, the files I have?
Technical challenges here. Give us 1 minute.
USB 있으세요? USB가 이거 연결돼요? USB 이걸로? 시작 안 돼요?
메일. I think the issue is solved now. On the podium again. Thank you. 이제 V.
Yes. These are the graphs from 2019. We just picked a random summer day and wanted to see the impact based on the 4 scenarios I described. And the bottom is HVDC, and the dark blue is diesel power generation, and the yellow TP is thermal power generation, geothermal, and CC means combined power generation, and the sky blue color, the lighter color is wind power, and the green color is the power photovoltaic energy, and the red line is the net load of electricity, and the orange line is the basic demand without the demand from EV cars. So in 2019, if we apply just SE scenario and let EV cars charge themselves without any control, you can see the duck curve occurs. And even if we apply the TOU charging fee system in 2009, it does not do any job in ameliorating the duck curve situation. But if we use smart charging technology, when the electricity is cheap between 1 o'clock and the 4 o'clock, the charging happens a lot. And that way, the base power generation increases between that times. And when we apply V2G charging, smart charging technology, the curve gets more flat. And that was the situation in 2019. And we ran similar scenarios for the year 2030, expecting that the EV cars will number 330,000 and expecting that the renewable energy will take much higher share in the energy mix. Then what will happen? If no control is applied for EV car charging, when renewable energy is widely adopted in the society, this is what happens. If you look at the graph, the demand will surpass the power generated, so the negative curve occurs. That means curtailment will happen. And in the year 2030, if the TOU charging fee scheme is applied, the amount of curtailment will decrease. However, it still happens. We can still see the duck curve graph. But look at the graph where we apply the V1G smart charging technology. You can see that the graph gets flattened a lot. That means not only in the hours between 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, but between the hours of like 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock, the EVs will make a smart decision and charge themselves intensively in that hours when demand is low. I mean, the demand for other electricity use is low. And when V2G is applied, the duck curve will flatten out, and also we do not necessarily have to use peak loads. We use wind, solar, and 2 other renewable energy sources for the energy supply that is required for charging EV cars. And if I am not using, but that scenario is under the presumption that all EV car users will take part in the V2G system or V2G scheme. When the TOU charging fee scheme apply, the user's participation rate is not a big factor. Assuming that only 25% or 55% or 75% of the EV car users take part in the V2G scheme, you do not see a huge impact on the proportion of the energy mixes. But when we apply the V1G, the higher participation, the lower the duck curve situation occur. And plus, when you use V2G technology, we can flatten out the duck curve even when the participation rate is low. And also, when V2G technology is applied, we do not necessarily have to use peak loads. What this graph shows is this. When we apply smart charging technology, we can make sure that the renewable energy gets better integrated into the existing power system. If that's the case, then how much consumers are willing to accept this system? That is another issue we have to think about. To analyze this, we have used CVM model with the DBDC model. The DBDC model basically means we give two questions to surveyors. For example, we ask this: if you receive this amount of money, are you willing to take part in the V2G service? If the participant says no, you double the amount. If you get double the amount, are you willing to take part in the V2G service? If not, we once again ask it. So we basically want to ask how much should consumers receive in order for him or her to take part in the V2G service. Or if the participants say yes to X amount of money, we once again ask questions with half of that money. And ask once again if he or she will join the service despite the smaller amount of money. And if he or she says yes once again, we once again ask how much will you accept for the joining of the V2G service. And here, we wanted to ask how valuable do consumers think that joining a V2G service for a month would be. The result is this. These are the questionnaires that we made, and we actually surveyed actual EV users in Korea. And when we did so, we asked if they are willing to take part in the V2G service 10 times a month. And on average, they said that if I can get paid 28,000 won per month, I am willing to take part. If you look at this case for B, and this, by the way, is the service that was done at the national level. As for the participation rate, this graph shows how valuable consumers find the V2G services is. And this table shows the economic benefits that each EV cars can generate depending on the participation rate. Look at the p-value for the participation rate. And if the monthly payment that consumers want to have is 28,000 won, we cannot expect a big benefit from the V2G, according to the table. So participants want to get more, basically get paid more in order to participate in the V2G rate. And if we can just provide 28,000 won, we can see that only like 28% of the EV users are going to take part in. And as for the Jeju Islands, the minimum amount of money EV users wanted to get was above 80,000 won. So chances are slim for Jeju to adopt V2G if this survey holds true for quite a long time. Thirdly, then what is the business model for the smart charging? The role of the smart charging is this. If EV cars with the smart charging technology gets more and more popular, from the power grid side, we can avoid additional power loads from the distribution system. And also, we can enhance the flexibility of the transmission line and the distribution lines. And not only that, we can decrease the curtailment of the renewable energy. And plus, we can improve the usage of the renewable power generated at the local level. And also, at the peak load time, if the peak load increases, we can invest less with the smart charging. And also in the distribution line, we can also decrease investment in the distribution line if the smart charging technology is applied. So there is benefit. However, globally, we cannot find the actual use of the smart charging technology because it is not basically profitable. With the low number of EV cars on the road and with lower level of technology when it comes to V1G or V2G. There are some players, Nova Energy, Moxa, and so on and so forth, but none of their business models are economically valuable or lucrative. And in Korea, we cannot find a single player who provides smart charging technology. Jeju is trying to disseminate EV cars, but there is no set scheme as to how much we can pay basically for users to adopt EV cars. And when it comes to smart charging technology, with KEPCO and the Hyundai Motors Group is doing the pilot projects. With the 100 units of Ioniq 5, the demonstration or the pilot project is going on to test the smart charging technology. And there is V2X service. We want to use the electricity that comes out of the car into the building. This is another pilot project that we want to do, but there is no specific or solid business being done around this technology, and that is because there is no rules whatsoever when it comes to V2G smart charging technology. The resources from the V2G cannot get certified. That means they cannot be traded. And there is no standardization nor certification when it comes to the integration of the V2G system into the existing power system. And there is no system for us to test this V2G technology. No rules, no testing environment whatsoever. And the power that goes into the EV cars means that I bought the EV car. You basically have to pay if you want to charge your EV cars. And V2G means that you basically resell the electricity you bought. But reselling electricity as of today is not possible legally. And also, that basically means that under the current legislation or regulation, we can do nothing. So about implications. If smart charging is technologically feasible in the power system, we can expect benefits. The demand for EV can decrease the cost from power system through what? By flattening out the duck curve. And secondly, by providing some reserve power into the power system. And thirdly, by reducing the curtailment of the renewable energy. Through these three ways, it can decrease the cost of power generated. And also, the more wider use of renewable energy can increase the role of EV cars. But the thing is, we do not have regulatory environment which will make this possible. And the acceptance level was about 28,000 won once again. At this level, when we apply the V2G service with the expected benefits, if we provide 28,000 won to users, we expect that only 28% of the users will take part in the V2G. And to enhance customer acceptance of this system, what can we do? if we can make sure that the V2G smart charging system actually gets users to charge their cars better, they will willingly join. And last but not least, in order to create a business model for V2G, all the missing pieces that I have been elaborating on should be filled in. And V2G resources should be certified as resources in the power trading market. And the cost system and the subsidy system should be set in place. The value of the benefits that is created because of the V2G should be measured and calculated, because only that way consumers and the EV car drivers and VPP utility companies and V2G operators and many other power system operators can share the benefits. And in this regard, we have to set rules and regulations. So once again, this presentation is quite different from the previous ones, but I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. I think you think it's a little bit different, but I think we covered all areas of electrification. Thank you for the presentation. These were very interesting and critical presentations. I have to share one personal experience. Looking at Ree's product, it reminds me of a product that really made me become an electric vehicle engineer. It's called General Motors introduced a product called Highwire 20 years ago. Highwire stands for hydrogen drive-by-wire. General Motors definitely failed to bring this innovative product to the market, but I believe Ree is ready to revolutionize the industry now, and I truly appreciate your effort. We had a presentation from an EV hardware company, cybersecurity company, solution company, and policymaking institute. I think we all can agree that mobility electrification must happen and will happen soon. However, challenges will be created in every step of the way. Vehicle development process, implementation, and application, including infrastructure and policy making. I think we all have to agree that there will be no easy way or silver bullet. I don't think we have enough time for a lengthy discussion today. I want to open the floor for any questions or online questions. If we don't have any questions, do we have Daniel and Andrew online still?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, thank you.
And hi, I'm representative of Free Automotive. I'm Karen, the CMO. Daniel.
Hi, Karen.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so I don't think we have a we don't have enough time for a lengthy discussion, but I would like to ask each speaker to provide your closing comment with maybe a quick answer to the following question. It may be subjective, doesn't have to be objective. What do you see as the biggest challenge for mobility electrification future? I think we had a representation from hardware manufacturer, software provider, solution company, and policymaking. And also, I would like to, if Ree doesn't mind, if you can tell us a little bit of your differentiating factor from other OEMs' EV platforms, such as Volkswagen's MEB or Hyundai's eGPM. I think your product is very innovative. I think that is going to be, it will provide a lot of simplified solution for electrification. So, can I start with you, Karen?
Yes, sure. First of all, thank you very much. Very important to say about Ree and others. We are not like others. We are doing a corner models. The corner models, as Daniel mentioned, are fully modular, so they can be applicable for any size and any shape. If we compare it to others, very innovative other EV platforms, such as MEB, as you mentioned, and more. We understand the, let's say, the challenge of these mission-specific vehicles. We're talking about the commercial vehicles, logistics, mobility as a service, deliveries, and so on. They are trying to build their fleet in a way that they have a last mile delivery, a very small vehicle for narrow streets, large vehicle between warehouse to warehouse, and so on and so forth. When you manage such kind of a fleet, you need to manage different type of vehicles and different type of sizes, let's say. And when we're looking on this specific market, this commercial market, one platform cannot fit all. We're talking about different type of modular platforms. And this is the reason that we start to thinking about the freedom to design any type of vehicle with these corner models. When we're looking on other corners in the market or other ideas or technology, we are not an in-wheel motor, meaning the motor is not inside the wheel like others. We are building this in a way that the performance of the vehicle needs to stay high. So the motor is actually on the unsprung mass. So it's between the wheel and the chassis, but it's not an in-wheel motor. And this is very, very important. Other things that we are thinking about, it's a future-proof. We are agnostic to any power source, but we also agnostic who sits behind the wheel. It can be either autonomy or autonomous computer or driven by humans. When you have a steer by wire, brake by wire, and drive by wire, you actually can do it very easily. And the last thing that it's also very important to see in the markets, it's the data. And we need, as a company, as a technology company, and all others, and this is why we believe very much in partnership, we think that the data is a very strong asset to our future mobility. And by helping to gather tons of data from the vehicle performance, from the battery management system, even for the road condition, and things like that can be helped to manage or to manage the fleet, manage the performance of the vehicle, and manage everything that's related to the driver. So the data can support any type of application layers that are building on top of this, on the vehicle, on the future vehicle. And this is how we are seeing that, and this is where put us on a very different position than others.
Thank you very much. Andrew, do you have a closing comment?
Sure. So I would say, I think we've just heard some great presentations and an awful lot of very powerful innovation. And I think, the comments that Karen was making about what RE are doing emphasize that the future of electric vehicles and autonomy or advanced driver assistance are very closely tied together. And a large part of that is the data and allowing you to build the right analytical models and the AI platforms, both within the vehicle at the edge and in the cloud. And so when you look at that, what I would stress is for EV companies, don't forget the importance of protecting that data. If consumers do not view trust as or place trust as an important part of the brand element of any OEM, it's going to be extremely hard to monetize, these very innovative new vehicles. And again, I think we're working in the most exciting industry on the planet. It's a privilege, but we have to protect that, and we have to protect the people and the vehicles and the infrastructure. And I think there is a challenge right now in the industry that cybersecurity is still somewhat viewed as a tick box activity rather than a proactive solution. And given that these vehicles will be on the road for 10 to 15 years, the threats that they will be subjected to, unfortunately, are going to evolve significantly. So we need, as an industry, to have the right tools, the right capabilities, and the right commitment to protect those vehicles across the lifetime, not just at launch. But again, I would say, I wouldn't want to work in any other industry right now. I think we are working in the hottest industry on the planet, and 5 years ago I couldn't have imagined saying that about automotive. So, it is truly exciting, game-changing times.
I have a somewhat serious question on cybersecurity. I mean, if your security malfunctions, who's responsible for it? Will this be an OEM or a software provider or hardware provider? I think that would be quite a challenge to sort out in the future, don't you think?
I think the indemnity, the liability issue is a critical one, but again, as it depends who's experiencing that issue. I think vehicle users will hold the OEM accountable for that first and foremost, because they are ultimately the provider of the vehicle. And again, when I think also governments and we have to think about protecting national infrastructure as well. EVs, unfortunately for the first time, we are connecting very smart devices to the power grid. So we have things like ISO 15118 now in development to protect the power network or the grid from vehicles launching attacks when they're connected to charging points. And again, I think the governments will hold the vehicle manufacturers accountable for that. I think again, back to my earlier point of not forgetting, this is a supply chain. It's an industry level issue. It's not simply a component or a software developer or an OEM or a tier one. We have to work together. I think there is some great work happening in things like Auto ISAC now and some of the other industry forums where people from across the whole industry come together, and we have very open discussions about what is happening, about how to solve the issues, what the CVEs are that we're dealing with, how to get that information out when we detect challenges, etc. So I think I would say it's probably the OEMs will get held accountable, but the supply chain has to step up and work together and say it's not a tick box activity. It's a very proactive mindset, because if we don't get this right, we don't unlock the billions of dollars of potential opportunity that are ahead of us. And so I would say it's on each player in the whether you're a tier one, tier two, tier three, etc. To proactively work with other players in the industry to deliver to the OEMs, the robustness and the updatability of the security frameworks that are needed.
Thank you. Kevin, do you have any closing comment or?
Can you hear me?
Usually, between IC vehicle and E vehicle, people don't really recognize the differences. However, traditional internal combustion engine and its problems have been resolved greatly, but now we face new types of challenges. For example, security and skid board operation method and durability of EV hasn't been proved yet. So some supply chain should work with some R&D organizations with more investment to create more user-friendly EV environment, I believe. Thank you.
I know infrastructure and policy making, they have to go with technology in order to implement any new type of technology or introduce new technology to the market. I know it is challenging, but what do you think is the best way to address all the concerns that you had in your presentation and speed up the process? If you can provide your comment and maybe a closing comment.
You gave me a very difficult question. I think all speakers want to go closer to the net zero society. In net zero society, what's most important is the distribution of clean energy, and most representative form of clean energy is renewable energy, I believe. Existing renewable energy spread policy focuses on distribution and spread itself, and spread only. But globally, not only Korea, these renewable energy policy are basically on two tracks. One, distribution, so basically existing policies, and the other is how we can make sure the renewable energy gets better integrated into existing power system in a cost-effective way. And I believe this second track is of paramount importance. For the integration of renewable energy into power system, which is a very difficult challenge, we need a lot of toxic tasks. For stable integration of the renewable energy into power system, we have to smooth out all the fluctuations of the renewable energy so that it can be smoothly integrated into power system. And one of the elements that can make this happen is EV car. And EV cars will come with not only batteries but also with ESS. But if we want to equip EV cars with ESS, this requires extra investments. But EV car itself, without extra money, can be used as an ESS. So it can be a good way for us to use EV as an ESS. But if you want to utilize electric motor as ESS, we need new technology. That is what I have been repeatedly talking about, smart charging technology. And in order to activate smart charging technology, we have to give economic incentive to consumers, the users who will use this technology. And the important issue is where do we draw this economic benefits and incentives from? There is no motivation for users to voluntarily choose for the smart charging technology as of today. And what's important is the benefit the power system can gain from the V2G system. For example, the decrease in the investment in the distribution line or the lesser investment in the power system cannot be felt by all the stakeholders, by power system operators, consumers, or the drivers, and so on and so forth. So we have to make sure that the benefits for the power system can be shared with the users of the V2G smart charging technologies. That is the way we can maximize the potential of the EV cars and make practical use of these benefits in our daily lives. The values that we have been repeatedly talking about should be integrated into economic incentives to drive and increase the usage. And I think that is the simplest motivation to enhance the usage. Thank you.
As Andrew said, this is the most exciting industry that we can actually work in today. Thank you for spending time with us today. Maybe next year we can actually do this face-to-face. Thank you, everybody, and have a nice day in Europe, and enjoy your dinner in Korea. Thank you.
감사합니다.
Thank you.